shit. Woo. Woo. That was oh shit. Damn. Good morning to you all. Y'all like my little intro? Oh, hell, Grace. Oh, yes, we are having a petty sermon on this fine Sunday. Yeah, man. We're gonna have a nice sermon. We're gonna uplift everybody's petty spirits. Everybody's petty spirits. Everybody gather round to the heavenly demon congregation as we go stupid and fuck bad bitches to gospel music. Utah! Oh yeah, we hauling ass back to Utah. Back to Utah, baby. Back to Utah. Oh yes. Oh yes. So I brought it upon myself, like whenever I do a live stream, I have to do like I have to do like a little intro, right? Like what you just saw not too long ago. Did I remind you of someone? Oh, oh my Lord. But on this fine morning, we're going to talk about the perks of valuing your male non-sexual attention. Oh, it works wonders. Oh, it works wonders. If you know how to use it right. If you know how to use it right, you'll be all right. But I've noticed from the past, I would say like, like 2018, maybe further like 2016, 2015. 2016, yeah. There was this whole talk about, valuing your non-sexual attention, right? So, I brought it upon myself like, this is interesting, because I'm like, maybe that's the problem. I don't value right? I don't value Getting these brothers prepared, when it comes to challenging the environment, engaging with women. But it came to my notice a few years later that these niggas didn't value their non-sexual attention their goddamn selves. So you know what happened? I said, hey, haul your ass back to Utah. Haul your asses back to Utah. God damn it. How? Just how? What's going on, lovely? What's going on, lovely piece? It's like, how? Just how? How y'all went from valuing non-sexual attention, now everybody is just windmilling for pussy? Oh, if you don't mind, if you don't mind, if you don't mind, I mean, the advisor definitely gonna be up here too, cause you know this is definitely some man shit. You know, this is definitely some like this is something that we don't talk about a lot. Now we talked all about game and all that goofy shit, but we never talked about valuing yourself, valuing your non-sexual attention instead of giving it away for free. You know what I mean? But I mean, y'all more than welcome to join the congregation. Yeah, I know, advisor. I know. Like, it's the most important thing, man. Like, you know, and I had this. It was so great that I had lunch. I went out for lunch with my uncle, and you know, we were in the midst of conversation, you know, about drill music, and oh, and I also forgot to mention that he also does a hip hop class in high school, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so we gone into a little bit. We dived in a little bit about self-value, right? Um, and it was a heart to heart, right? It was a heart to heart, and he said some gems, man, that was like, you know what, you're right, because if individuals don't value themselves, how do they expect others to value them the way they want to be valued? You know? And that's mostly the problem. See, I look at it like this. All that game shit, you know what I mean? That's just the shell. But if you don't value yourself, which is the spirit that of that shell, what's the point? You're just a hollow, like all that shit is a hollow silhouette. It's a hollow silhouette. You know? And I just be looking at the things that, you know, brothers do. And it's just like, I, I'm sorry. No, I value myself. I value my peace. Shit. I value my peace. This shit, I'll be damned. And that's the reason why, people keep running into the same type of individuals that they've been trying to like remove themselves away from, but they still haven't severed ties with their dereliction, right? It's like they haven't severed ties of their dereliction, and that's the reason why they keep on seeing these bumps. Valuing yourself as well as your peace, you know what I mean, is a prevention from you to go through dumb nigga shit. You know what I mean? No matter if it's, financial ventures, relationships with women, you know what I mean? Like overall, like don't just have self-value just for the women, like have self-value overall on the things that you engage in. And you won't have to haul your ass back to Utah. You won't have to haul your ass back to Utah. It's like, what have these niggas been doing since I've been in my slumbers on YouTube, right? It's like, it was cool, everybody, we're talking about, we brothers gotta have self-value and all that. But I also saw that a lot of these niggas were lying through their fucking teeth. Now, I ain't here to point fingers, okay? I'm not part of the blaming, shaming, then explaining party. Nah. I'm from the hold your own nuts party. I'm from the hold your own nuts party. God damn it. I hold my nuts every morning, every afternoon, and every evening. And that's my pledge of my allegiance. Oh, did that rhyme? But it's just sad how everybody wants to talk about this, but then they don't apply the information to their goddamn selves. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, all hell to the motherfucking gray skull. Yeah, man. And let's not focus on these niggas that failed in their mission to spread the message back in what? I would say for me, 2015. Somewhere, 2015, 2016, somewhere around there, right? But let's just think about this, right? Let's just grasp this concept of self-preservation. Without these so-called game coaches, you know what I mean? Because the only results you're gonna get is a whole flaky knuckle. A whole fucking flaky knuckle. You know, all right. Let's forget about the game for now. Let's talk about self-value, right? In order to have game, you also have to have self-value. You know, it's like, what would you rather prefer, guns or butter? Let me repeat that again. Which of these choices would you rather prefer, the guns or the butter? Let's see if y'all catch on. Which one would you prefer, guns or butter? I'll wait. What up, Lou? Then you chose game. Butter is game. If you chose butter, shit. Good luck. Good luck. Definitely good luck. Yeah, true. But they don't see it from another angle. What if healing became their business? It could work. But if you never valued yourself, how are you able to challenge the environment? How are you able to demand shit like you King Joffrey? Before he got poisoned in his own fucking banquet, his own birthday banquet, choking on his own guts and blood and shit. Oh, gruesome. Self-preservation is a must. But along with self-preservation also needs stress management. Stress motherfucking management. Yeah, lovely. But that also leads them to a fucking waterfall. And they're gonna land face first on some jagged edge rocks. Painful. Good morning, Nadia. Good morning, love. How are you? You know what I mean? That's how I see it. You know, folks don't want to heal and they just use pain as an attention seeking method. They're heading towards a cliffhanger, like the rest of these sheeps, following these goofy ass shepherds, just gathering them to the nearest cliffhanger. Like, yeah, come on, yeah, go. Oh, you see these dumbass sheeps just falling off the cliffhanger, one by one. Like, damn. That's where it'll get you. Get you in a place of a whole lot of mental and spiritual hurt. Like timber! Like timber! You know? And there's a time when you just need to say to yourself, damn, I need to cut my shit. I need to cut my bullshit. Like, literally. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But apparently, you don't hear that. You don't hear that from these individuals. Why? Because no one has ever taught them to value themselves. There you go. There you have it. You see that? See that right there? You know? Like if the parents never showed them to value themselves, or a parent then teach them how to value themselves, then you know they're pretty much in a slippery slope. They're in a slippery slope. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sunday morning petty sermon from the temple number 7 of Petty. Yeah, man. Oh, most definitely, Nadia. Most definitely. Yeah, this one took. Oh my god. Oh man. Afterwards, man, like you know, had an off air convo. With, you know, and then I just passed out. I was like, fuck, man, this beat took me the fuck out. This beat took me the fuck out, man. After like brainstorming, after like chopping, all that shit, man. Like, I was just like, fuck it, you know. But you know, y'all are more welcome to come into the temple number 7 of Petty, you know. Because, you know, this is a very interesting sermon that none of these niggas don't talk about very often. Like, for instance, like getting like collections of knives and you know, bottle of fine whiskey. We even talk about pairs of Rothstein shades and shit. You know, something that makes you feel great about yourself. You know, like something that a man can do. You know, without being penalized of doing manly shit. Like for instance, building your own motherfucking house somewhere in the damn forest. You know, that's some man shit. That's also, you know, he did it from the ground up. You know, folks, you got men that did made their houses from shit 15 years by them goddamn selves and shit. But you will never hear these goofy individuals talk about that shit, you know, as well as self-preservation. It's like a whole lot of goofy shit. I thought guns were the ones that you know, but you know, everybody has their own meaning of guns and butter. You know, I look at self-preservation as the guns. Butter pretty much as game. I mean, but it can switch vice versa depending on, you know, the scenario. You know, not everybody's scenario is the same. Everybody's scenario has a different template. But yeah, always value yourself. Put yourself first. Like, stop listening to those that tell you you need to value yourself for the women. That's why these niggas are in denial as of now. Go value yourself, man. Quit playing. Quit playing. Like, quit playing. Stop. Just stop. Value yourself. Stop being a fucking knucklehead. Shit. But that's the problem. That's the problem. There's a whole lot of complaining, not a whole lot of self-preservation. Oh, did that rhyme? Fair, ironically, can get you respect. Yeah, and that's the reason why, you know, these crash dummies. Well, I mean, of course, they are part of the environment. The advisor always say, but it's gonna come to a time where everybody's not gonna go by that bullshit. You know, these lukewarm, half-ass lists that has nothing to do with a man's self-preservation. It's always about what he wants and what he needs in a woman, but not what he can do for himself. You know, getting a haircut like every 2 weeks. That's self-preservation. You gotta keep up with your appearance. And there are days like you will have to thug it out. And then you just have to remind people that you could clean up nice. Don't take my word for it. Definitely not take my word for it. And it's like I can't. That's like it's another thing that my uncle once said to me, man. And we also touched on the situation with Travis Scott's concert last year. And we both agreed on one thing, right? It's not. It wasn't Travis' fault. He wasn't the one at fault, right? And in technical terms, it was really the sponsors accountability as well as the security to you know to make things civilized. Yeah, and also promoters. I would say thank you, Dre, thank you. Yeah, I would definitely say we both agreed that it was the promoters' fault that there wasn't enough security to make sure that that excursion didn't occur at the concert. And if I remember correctly, what the advisor said on the stage that Travis was on performing when all that happened, it's like a fucking mini football field. So how the hell can he see what's going on? Unless somebody pointed it out to his attention that there's a little stampede going on in the event. So, and this is my thing. Can we really blame Travis, or can we blame the promoters? I say the promoters should take accountability. But everybody's slinging mud at Travis ever since that incident happened. Now some other goofy shit happened. Now his so-called manager, who somehow just rose up from the crypt, now is saying, "Oh yeah, Travis is a fucked up individual. Yeah, he left me for dead in the basement for whole hours." It's like, wow. When shit happens in somebody's concert, it's always going to be that one particular motherfucker that always want to be on some left field shit. Prime example, Jaguar Wright. I remember like 2 years back, she went on a fucking tangent well, after I believe after one of the Roots member, Malik, passed. I believe it was the beginning, middle of 2021. No, it was actually 2020. My mistake. It was actually 2020. So yeah. But but self accountability is also a part of self preservation. But they don't hear me though. These feral niggas look at me like I'm cursing at them. Like, what? What you say to me, nigga? I need to do what? Yeah, I'm telling you to take accountability for what you said, nigga. I didn't stutter. That's the problem. I see a lot of males, but no men. I ain't talking about no man shit, but always want to complain like a bitch. Wishing for the patriarchy to come back. So I'm guessing you're wishing for death for yourself. Because you niggas who don't have no self-preservation as a man wouldn't make it in the patriarchy. You wouldn't. You wouldn't make it. You wouldn't make it. You would literally be on ice. They will literally hand you a service weapon and discharge yourself from Earth. So yeah, good luck. Good fucking luck. Taking for a patriarchy and you not even the patriarchy goddamn self. You failed countless of times challenging the environment. Failed quadruple times in the environment. And y'all want to talk about, oh, it's a gynocracy. No. You niggas are the gynocracy. Don't blame the women. Blame your fathers that ran out on you. But half of you niggas a bunch of chicken shits and don't want to do that. So what's the point of all that hooting and hollering? Like you in Sunday Bible school. What's the point of that? What's the point of all of that? All that hooting and hollering. Look, these hoes are winning short term, okay? And y'all still mad. But this is But that's what y'all wanted, right? Now you seeing shit tip over. Now everybody's bitching and moaning. Up, bitching and fucking moaning. That's all these niggas do. All they do is bitch and moan. But, hey, I'm just a messenger. I ain't here to save nobody. I'm just here to pass the message along. How you take this message, is solely up to you on how you use it. But I think I had enough in the pulpit, so I'm gonna let the advisor say his piece. Say his motherfucking piece. Oh look, we got everybody scared. No, don't run. Don't run. There's no need to run. There's no need to hide. There is no need to hide. And look who's here. The advisor.
What's going on this petty Sunday?
Oh, this petty Sunday is very petty indeed. Very petty indeed. Indeed. I seen a lot of people hauled ass back to Utah.
Oh man. Oh, you already know it. You already know it, man. These dudes, man. Well, they never gonna get right, man. They,
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
right.
these,
Absolutely.
I'm like, they're lost cause, man. And the ones that get right, they just leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They go on with their life and they do well. You know what I mean? If you see a guy running around in the space and you know what I mean, and he's still running around in that space, because I'm gonna say that space, not this space, because I'm not a part of that, because I ain't got them problems. But
Right.
them dudes have a systematic problem that cannot be
Yeah.
fixed by any means of the imagination. It's like, because we're so civilized in society, they are allowed to permeate and live and breathe. Just can't just like
Right.
leave them to their own devices, right? Like natural laws of selection. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Can't take them out because we're so civilized. We're so civilized that we are degenerate, and we're wallowing our dereliction by getting in the way of the natural order of things. And the women of the society are basically complaining that we as men won't exercise our due diligence by culling out these degenerates of society down to the 1/3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And
That's true.
you know, now unfortunately for myself, I mean, I can't like, bring the patriarchy back, because for you to bring some things back, you would have to give up some things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as I was sitting there doing some conversations and talking to other men, and we were having these conversations in the back chats of you in the back chats of the chords, we were talking about how, because the reason why patriarchies work so well around up until the 1950s is because America was coming off of what you call a type of economy that was built off of agriculture.
Mm.
So people
Right.
needed
Right.
farms.
I do remember. I do remember. learning about that in social studies. Yeah.
Right? Remember, children didn't even actually go to school like up until like during the 20s and the 40s. They had to have a child act for children to actually go to school.
Yeah,
Like,
because they would get into some derelict shit.
well, they
Like
had
Ronnie Pimples and Gangs of New York.
well, let's just say in like there were people like remember you would hear things like I remember your great grandfather couldn't read. Like, how could he operate and he couldn't read? Right? But the
Right.
standard American, let's just say in America, they couldn't read. Mainly women
Yes.
were taught to
Yes, the
read.
literacy was definitely a problem during those times. Yeah.
Yep. Right. So and
Hmm.
children actually worked, right? Like they had children working at 8 and 10 and having jobs at 11 and 12, especially males, right? Male
Yeah.
children. And then
Right.
children would get hurt in these industrial environments or the environment. So that would actually call them down. So if you made it through that industrial environment, you were strong, right?
Right.
You could protect yourself, and then
Right.
you were smart enough not to get hurt by things, but you still
Right.
might not have been able to read,
Right.
right? Because you had to have enough money to be taught how to read.
Exactly. Hmm.
Your parents had to basically you had to be in a situation where you were that well off where you were taught how to read.
Right.
You had to have a teacher come to your house and teach you or something of that nature. Or you had to go to a boarding school. They would send you to a boarding school or something like that. Right?
Hmm.
But you did not know how to necessarily read, but you had to learn how to count. See, reading
Right.
and counting was two different things, right? So you need to know
Yeah.
how to count, multiply, and do those things. But mainly women were taught how to read and stuff because they were really good at those things, right? Actually, the
Right.
school system that we have right now is based off of the Prussian system, which is the Catholic Church system of teaching girls how to read and write because young girls can actually sit still more than boys.
Right.
So what that basically means is that the very basis of education from the kindergarten level all the way up into high school is a way that you teach females on how to, to learn.
Hmm.
Boys
Yeah.
don't learn that way, right?
Right.
And up until the 1970s, schools were actually segregated between males and females. Boys learned a
Right.
certain way, girls were taught a certain way, and then you would have dances and stuff like that. Now, this is very important because when the 50s come around, right, after World War II, during World War II, then you had the Industrial Revolution, but the people that were mainly producing and in these industries were women because all of the men were at war. So
Yeah.
the women were the one making the tanks and the bombs and the putting the guns together and sewing the uniforms and
Hmm.
stocking the things and doing all the things and keeping these records, right? They were in logistics and things of that nature. So the industrial age in America was mainly built off of the backs of women, and then the men came back in af- after the war. So the patriarchy went away at the close of the agricultural era and into the industrial age. So all of your patriarchs actually were pretty much done away with during the war,
Hmm.
right? So now
Yeah.
they talk about it's a gynocratic society, but it's not. It's actually a plutocracy that gained the thing of the gynocratic society because you're in an industrial revolution, right?
Yes.
Now, once machines take over, it levels the playing field, but then you have to up the education of men where might doesn't make right. You have to be more strategic. So now you're going through another evolution. So now they kind of it flattens the thing, right? So, but
Right.
you still need women to have children because you just went through a war, right? So then you remove them out of the work system. You incentivize marriage, right, and
Hmm.
familyhood, and then you come up with a system where people get married quicker, mainly men. Men have more rights to a certain degree. They get paid a higher wage than women, even if they're doing the same job, which incentivize women to be more homebound, and it makes them harder to be in the workplace, right? Then you
Mm-hmm.
move forward, industrial revolution. Now you're going to the technological revolution once again, right? You're going to another revolution where you're evening the playing field once again, right? So
Right, right.
now now you send the men off to war from the Korean War, Vietnam War, Desert
Oh
Storm,
yeah.
and the war on terrorism, right? So you done
Mm-hmm.
been then you got your home front war with your war on drugs, but they're mainly affected black folk to the main
Yeah.
degree.
It
But
did to a degree, yes. Yes.
to a degree, right? So now
Yeah.
you got you got World War II. After that, you got your
Mm-hmm.
Reconstruction, right? That's your boomer generation, right? Then you
Right.
got your Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Then you
Mm-hmm.
got your, you know what I mean? Then you got your mafias and all of that. Then you got your
Right.
Korean War. Then you got your Vietnam War, which is the major, that's a, that ushers in your drug war, right? You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
then America goes through another type of recession, depression, thing like that. Then
Cocaine
that
cowboy era.
okay, there you go, cocaine cowboy era. Then you get Reaganomics.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a Bush in there that throws in a Desert Storm War, but that doesn't really do anything because that was over with as soon as it started. But then you come back to it after the Clinton
Mm-hmm.
administration. Then you get Bush in his first term of office, and then you go back to the Middle East with your war on terrorism,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that just
Right.
ended. That ended. So that started in 2001 and it ended in 2021. So
Mm-hmm.
that was 20 years.
20
20
years.
years of your best men that came back messed up, fucked up, maimed, or whatever, right? So now you're in this technological revolution where people are sedentary, they living in excess, they get right now in economy.
Mm-hmm.
The men have been euthanized by the system. You don't incentivize marriage. It's even if a man and a woman is married in the American ethos, you split apart the household because it's cheaper for them to file separate on their
Right.
tax
Right.
instead of filing joint, right?
Yeah. Like my grand I would say my grandparents did that. Did that when you know when
Yeah,
they got married. Well,
yeah.
they were like unofficial, but like they like on their state taxes they you know yeah.
Yeah.
But continue though, continue.
But then did you remember there was this, like, a lot of people, you know how like these older people in their 50s and 60s tell you about how, their parents was married, but they don't tell you about this thing called the come along marriage,
Mm,
right? We forget about this thing, right? Especially in the
right.
southern states, where people done shacked up. They call it shacking up, or people been living with each other for so long and had kids, or they've been living with each other for so long. They call it a common law marriage, where you didn't officially go get married, but if a woman shows documentation that y'all been living together for so long, then
Mhm.
she can claim any type of benefits that she would have with being with a partner for so long, because sometimes they would have an estranged partner, right? Like the
Mhm.
man would leave his family, or the woman would up and leave. The kids would be grown. He's still with this woman that's been with him, but he can't officially get married to this woman because he can't find the woman to get divorced, or the woman vice versa can't find the man to get divorced. So what the state would do is, they know this would happen, so to keep families together, or to keep a two-parent household, especially in the South, because
Mhm.
infrastructure wasn't what it was, they would have these common law marriages,
Mhm.
or quote unquote the common law marriage, right? So a lot of these people got married just because the state said, y'all been together for so long, y'all married now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and it's still on the
Yeah.
books in certain states like Virginia, North Carolina,
Mhm.
South Carolina. Uh, I think Alabama, Arkansas, I think in certain counties in Georgia, because if you're in the Commonwealth, it's the counties and the surrounding areas, right?
Right, right.
So that doesn't mean people were getting married in mass. It's just that the law incentivized and forced them together, right? Then you got people that still were married, but they were separated,
Right.
right? People like, yeah, this is my grandma. We call him granddad. They've been together, but my real granddad live across town with his chick. We call her grandma too, but they were separated ever since my fourth uncle was, he was like in high school, but I wasn't born then. But she still carried my granddad last name, yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right, right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the
Uh-huh.
difference is that, but they were incentivized. So why did those older folk stay married and didn't get a divorce? Because they were incentivized to stay married. So it was the society as a whole
Mm.
allowed, basically said it was looked down upon us for that to happen, right? Then we had a certain now later beard guy say no fault divorces, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, no fault divorces actually was brought up in Oklahoma and Texas,
Mm.
right? But they were never passed through the legislation. And then when they finally was passed, so it was actually a New York thing. New York came up with it first. Everybody else adopted it, and this was in the
Yeah.
70s, right? This was in the
Mm.
70s, but it was first brought forth in the 50s and the 60s, right?
Right.
Now, no fault divorces was originally there for women that were in abusive relationships to get out of those relationships. So they wouldn't have to stick around and have like a whole Ike and Tina Turner moment with the, me, sing it like I have it in my head anime. Eat the cake. you know, right?
Uh-huh.
And you know what I'm saying? So now we get into the thing about custody and child support. Not until the 1980s, 1970s, when women could really get custody of the children. It used to be like really on the man's side of things. The man used to actually keep custody of the kids. He would actually have to relinquish custody of children to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to bring that back in the southern states like Texas. Like if a woman decides that she wants to get an abortion, right?
Mm-hmm.
The man has to basically co-sign on it. If
Mm.
he co-signs on it, he relinquishes rights as a father. If he doesn't want to get an abortion, right, and she does it, she can get he can report her, she can get locked up. Or or
Oh, yes.
if she
Wow.
has the baby and says she wanted to get an abortion, the man can automatically take custody of it because she already proved that she didn't want the kid. See, this is what they're doing in Texas and certain of those Bible Belt states, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, none
Yeah.
of these dudes are going to bring this up or talk about these things because they don't really care about family. One, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because in the patriarchy, and I'm sorry to say this, but in a patriarchy, marriage ain't about. It's a contract about building wealth. Has nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do with your love for the
Right.
person.
That's
Like
secondary.
that's secondary. The love of the person, it's like, can y'all get along? And it's like a business relationship, right? That's how it
Exactly.
works in the patriarchy, right? Now, now in a westernized modern society, or what was actually put out there, right,
Mm-hmm.
is it was the same thing, right? It's the same thing, but then there was a nuance. The man would seek the woman, but then the man would basically have to deal with other men that he would get the approval. Like you would meet her father, right? You would meet her, you meet a father, you meet her
Yeah.
brothers, whatever. You would be in a closed knit system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that changed because there were no fathers really around, because they were sent off to war. These young men were sent off to war that were potential fathers. These men that were fathers or grandfathers or whatever, they were left behind. And then you
Mm-hmm.
had these other men that weren't good enough to go to war, were left behind, and they had their pick of the litter. And it is what it is, right? Less men gives a want. So a woman would normally pick this guy, but nature is what nature is, right? So
Right. Right.
now we're moving forward with this is that the world is upside down. Now,
Oh yeah.
these, but these guys don't want family, right? They don't want to put in the work for it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want anything to do with building anything far as community wise, right? Um, and they just want to be what they perceive that the guy that might have made a couple of mistakes or the woman might have made a couple of mistakes, dust themselves off and challenge the environment and kept going. And they're looking from the outside in, being judgmental, using this morality stick where they want to be immoral as fuck. Like if you think about it,
Yeah.
they want to be able to be the destructors of the community. Like they were never ever given a choice because they were never ever chosen.
Right.
So that what
Right.
that means is that these guys literally are these guys, women innately realize that these guys don't even have the potential to even be in a derelict. Like they have no
Right.
potential at all, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
didn't even want to choose these men to even attempt to be in a relationship with. Didn't even get to the point of sleeping with them. Like they don't even know that these guys exist. Like it's like you don't know bugs are around you until you actually look down.
Yeah.
Until that crawl down.
Yeah.
Until there's actually so many of them, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what these women, this is what women are feeling, and it doesn't matter what era or what year or what era these women come from. There's just this
Mm-hmm.
innate ability that these women don't want nothing to do with
Mm.
them. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
if
Oh my God.
if you think about it, like listen to their verbiage, right? Because they're never consistent, right? Like say for
Yeah.
instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll say this. Let's just say like this. And I'm not going to say black women. I'm gonna just say women, right? So let's just say this, right?
Right.
Because we're just gonna put them in a bucket. They'll
Right.
say women are out here killing how many babies a year through abortion, right? Then they'll turn around and say, but they got all these single mamas out here. These women ain't shit. They put men on child support. So hold on, wait a minute. You got to pick a struggle. Is they killing or they having babies? Now, two things can be true, but who makes the law so this can happen?
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Because last time I checked, is more men in positions of power, like legislation and stuff like that, than they are women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out right there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
Point
mean?
that out. Please.
The,
Please.
the,
Please. Be
I'm like,
please.
the country's been around for officially since 1776. This is the first time we had a woman vice president.
Mm-hmm.
If we lived in a gynocracy, we should have had a woman president already.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I checked, why don't you call Germany a gynocracy? They have a woman president.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She's a prime minister, which is considered a president. Which actually a prime minister actually has more power than a president.
Mm-hmm.
Because a prime minister, when they don't get what they want, they can actually call a snap election, which forces the people in their upper and lower houses to actually be reelected to their seats, which can move the power or the power balance in a shift, right? England. Let's look at England, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest prime ministers they had, other than Winston Churchill, was Margaret Thatcher. She was a woman.
Mm.
They don't consider England as a gynocratic state. They'll think of it as a patriarchy. Korea is very, very patriarchal, but they had a female
Mm-hmm.
president, prime minister,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Mm, So
Mm-hmm.
how do you consider America as a gynocratic state when majority of your people in power, in business, lobbyists, congressmen, representatives are men? Nancy Pelosi has
Mm-hmm.
only been the speaker and the House majority leader or the minority leader for the last 10 years when it's always been men previous to the fact.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. There's been a big change.
hmm
Yeah.
And it took how long for that to happen? It took women being able to vote after the
Yeah.
Civil War, the
Mm-hmm.
women's suffrages, right, with Sojourner
Mm-hmm.
Truth. You got first wave, second wave, third wave feminism, right?
Mm-hmm. Which,
Took all of that, right?
yeah,
Matter of fact, a black woman became the first lady and a black man became the president before a white woman hasn't even become a vice president. It was actually a black woman that's the vice president before a white woman. So weird, and they outnumber you. So there are more white women in the country than there are black
right.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Let that make sense, right?
Let that make sense. Let that make a whole lot of fucking sense.
It makes sense. But they complain, right? So their complaints
Right.
really isn't validated or anything. They just mask it with politics and morality
Mm-hmm.
and building, but then they contradict themselves. So we get back to the nitty gritty. And you know what it is, Captain?
Mm-hmm.
They just want pussy.
Pretty much.
But then they
Pretty
don't
much.
but then they don't want wholesome good pussy.
No
They
wholesome.
want
Nothing.
downtrodden hoes. Not even clean hoes. Not clean
Dirty
hoes.
hoe.
Dirty hoes. That's what they want. And when they get into these circular arguments with women that are having this conversation, they are already telling you is they don't really whatever they don't ever show you an example of the woman that they actually want.
Exactly. Yes.
Hold
Yes.
on a second.
Yes. Yes. No, and that's the sad part about these dudes, man. Like that's the sad part about these dudes, cause they use that shtick, you know, just to do all of that. It's like, bro, you did X, Y, and Z to do just to get what? I was like, bro, I don't know which is worse, doing that or these niggas sending these chicks out to to the Carolinas. uh, uh,
Yeah, sure.
to get they smash on.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I'm just saying, it's just I don't know, man. Like just sitting around watching these guys for listening to them on a seven. Like, yo, think about it like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everybody stopped for 1 second, listen very closely.
Right.
There's a person right now crying on a live stream for 3 to 8 hours about the women that they can't get that they want.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Right.
And if you listen very so softly, you can
Mm.
hear, like Velcro, them removing and replacing their man maxi pads from menstruating. You can hear it ever so softly.
I had to I had to stop that for 1 second.
Ever so
Repeat
softly.
that.
Every bit.
Repeat that again, Advisor.
Yeah, yeah,
Please,
yeah.
please
You can
repeat
hear it.
that.
You can hear the Velcro, right? Just the Velcro of pulling off of their pubic hairs of their male maxi pads menstruating, crying over the women. There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Ronan's got it. Ronan's got
Yeah,
it.
he gets it.
He gets it.
Yeah.
You can like like you can hear, like, you know what they sound like? Like when I listen to them on these live streams, they sound they sound like, as you listen to them, they're turning into hermaphrodites. Like you can hear them turning into hermaphrodites. Like you can hear
You
it.
mean
The
hyenas?
no, the hyenas. Hyenas are listen, they're noble creatures. They're doing what they need to do. They're scavengers, and at least when a hyena
Never mind, I
breaks
see.
down, right, a carcass, it chews it down, breaks the bones, grind it up, shits it out, which becomes uh, uh, a highly baked sulfurite to replenish the land. These
Mm,
dudes are locusts, right? Right?
yeah.
But they feed on the emotional trauma of other men, right? And it's like it's not even a stop sign, right? Like you know,
Right.
like when we talk, it's like a warning, right? I don't try to stop people from making a decision,
Right. No.
right?
No.
Because if you listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to me, if I tell you like, hey man, you're coming down this highway, you're coming down this corner, you might want to slow down. It's advised that you only do 35 miles an hour coming around this corner
Right.
off this mountain. Now, you may have skill, you may be skilled in. You can maybe drift around this corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everybody can't be you.
Yeah. No. No.
So this is for the layman. Now, if you listen to me, you will slow down, go around the corner. If you don't, you'll go off to the side like the coyote,
Yeah.
right? Now, I didn't make you stop. But what these guys like to do with anything in life is they like to come in and they like to take the guy's tires out,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now they're thinking, I'm still going to be fine because I don't have any tires, but you're still moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can't even turn or stop. You're just sliding with sparks off the side of the cliff. Or you may not even slide over the cliff. You might just teeter a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving any solutions. They're not giving anything.
Mm.
And they can't they can't give them any viable solutions because the people that are speaking to them are failures in their own right. They're speaking from a sense of regret. Listen to what they're saying. Man, if that was me, I would have did such and such and such. They never say, when I was in that position, this is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I messed up, and this is what I did differently. And
Mm-hmm.
this is my solution, and this is the actual receipt of that solution. You never do
Right.
that. They
Yeah.
just say, man, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. Right? I wouldn't do that. Man, you could. And then you start asking them questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, hmm. So, have you ever? What's your longest relationship? Well, me and my baby mama. No, 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 no. What is your longest relationship? Because of course you're going to be in a relationship with that woman for the rest of your life because you have a child with that woman. But
Mm.
it's between the relationship of you and the child. Remember, like, because you didn't get married to the woman, your relationship with that woman really doesn't matter. It's actually you and your child's relationship that really matters.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how that works. You know, see how that works, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
the issue with that is that they can't tell you. And these are the guys that actually had children. But then you got to ask ages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I ain't the smartest man in the world, but the average age of a lot of these guys that are the quote unquote gurus of pillars are 43 and over. Or 43 and over. So let's just say hypothetically, you had a child at 16.
Shit.
At 43, your child will be 25 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're 43
Right.
years of age. You had a child at 16. You got a woman pregnant at 16 years of age. Your child will be 25 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say at 18, you had a kid. Let's just say you was a teen dad at 18. So you was a
Right.
teen dad at 18 years of age. That means that if you had a child at 18 years of age, that means that your child will be 23.
Mm-hmm.
Your oldest child will be 23.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now let's say you had 3 children by the same woman, right? Hypothetically, you was in a long-term relationship. Or let's just say you had 3 children by different women at different
Right.
stages of life. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That means your oldest child will be 23 at 18. Then your next child will would be about 20-ish, and the next one will be almost about to get out of high school. Good?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why don't you think that you hear from after 2020 the so-called manosphere complaining about child support?
Why don't you? I don't.
Why don't you? You know why you don't hear about it? Because if the average age of your pillars are 40 or 43 years of age, then that means that their children are damn near grown or are grown and they haven't been paying child support. And any child support that they complain about paying is them being in the rears.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, child support
Right.
goes off of how much you make, and a lot of times a lot of these women that were getting assistance to raise these children didn't actually go put them on child support. It was actually the state actually recouping their money because they stopped getting the federal kickers, and they start finding the men to hold them accountable to pay this child support from said assistance that they were giving these women.
Mm-hmm.
See how that works?
Yeah.
Now, so what that basically means is, and this is some funny stuff. This when it gets deeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the next part about that is that they don't complain about the child support. It's the back end. They complain about the abortions. Well, if the women are aborting the babies, then you can't bitch about the child support because the baby doesn't exist. So
Right.
now the problem is if child support's not the problem, because those guys figured it out and they went on about the business. Because I did remember when there was a group of men that were helping men about getting the child support and getting it fixed and getting it to the point where they can actually see the kid, because it wasn't the fact about paying the child support that was the problem originally. It was the fact about having access to the child.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went from having access to the child, those men actually got what they needed, because we as men, once we get a solution, we stop bitching about it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we get a solution, we stop bitching about it, and we actually spread the knowledge to other men, so it doesn't happen, and we hold each other accountable. But then it goes to just child support. It's not the access to the child, but it's actually the
child support.
The child support, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to support the child. Well, she's not taking care of the kid and this, that, and the other. Okay, well, how much money per week are you paying to take care of this kid? I raised 3 kids. Your little $200 a week ain't doing shit.
Nah, it ain't. It ain't sufficing.
$200 a week, $100 a week, $25 a month. This ain't feed the children. This ain't Sally Struthers. A cup of coffee is not going to raise a kid in America.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Nope.
Kids grow like they grow like weeds. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You know what I mean? Like
Or a tree.
so, you know what I mean? So my thing is like, yeah, you're not living in the same household now. Is the system designed to keep the household split because it's better to have two taxpayers than one? Of course,
Of
of
course.
course. So is your problem with the women in question, or is the problem with the men that are in charge and you as men are not doing your due diligence to keep everything in lockstep so society can be better and great?
Right. Uh-huh.
See, see,
Nope.
see,
They ain't
now we
doing a
go back
goddamn thing.
and now we get back to incentivization of what? We get back into the incentivization of behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want women to act a certain way, but they do not incentivize the behavior. Shall we talk about Mr. Sotomayor today?
You have the floor.
Okay, here we go. Mr. Sotomayor does not incentivize positive behavior from a certain type of women in a
Mm-hmm.
certain community of women. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example.
Go ahead.
I went back and watched the Fish and Fraud, Fresh and Fit podcast where the fight ensued because you have to watch things in context. Now, him and this woman, they had a
Disagreement?
well, they had history already. So
Oh.
the original disagreement is hmm, she said he asked, "Well, you stopped following me," and she said, "Is because every time I look at your content, you're always going in on black women,
Mm.
right?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, that's my choice to," and she said, "And it is my choice to stop following you. I'll
Mm.
follow you,
There you go. Boom.
right? If you
Mm-hmm.
stop just going on black women all the time and only black women, right?"
Mm-hmm.
He got upset. She stayed calm. They went back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, she did say something to trigger him, but here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It was after the fact that he did not accept her stance. That's her choice.
Mm-hmm.
You're mad because this woman used to follow you and don't follow you anymore, right?
Right.
Because she told you why. She said, I would follow you again, but you got to stop just dogging on one type of women, which is black women. Now, here's the thing. We all know why a black man can't just talk about all women or a particular group of women except for black women, because what's going to happen is the white boys are going to rake them through the coals. We can talk about our women, but you can't talk about yours. Like you know what I mean? You can't talk about our women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now these, not all black men, but these dudes over here will allow a white woman or a white man to come into a conversation that they have and throw chairs, flip tables, and go at their women. And on
Mm-hmm.
vice versa on the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the other issue. I blame Fish and Fraud, right?
Mm-hmm.
I blame Fish and Fraud because they should have had better control of the situation. And I give it to the credit. Now, the guy that's the tech guy that always on the soundboards and making sure everything's straight in the mics, soon as he saw it was getting out of hand, he ran around and got in between Tommy
Yeah.
and the woman in question. So he tried to defuse the situation. The host of the show, that actually is his boss, stood there and was waiting for it to happen. And until it was getting so out of hand that punches was thrown or whatever was going on,
Mm-hmm.
guess what happened? Tommy had all that smoke. Now, someone brought it to my attention. I went and found the research. Tommy
Uh-huh.
himself has gotten sucker punched in the face by men that rolled up on him because he was running his mouth too much, and haven't even shown that level of aggression, but he does it against a woman.
And getting pimp smacked. Let's also
Hmm.
not forget about that too.
Yeah, right. Now, here's the other thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're supposed to be fit, right? Because I guess
Right.
Marlon is the fit guy. Why
Yeah.
did Tommy Sotomayor move a whole 6'3" alpha male out of his way with one arm, like he was swatting flies?
Ooh. Ooh. Mm.
Right?
Mm.
Right? Now, that didn't look little alpha like. It didn't look real good.
No,
After the
it
thing,
didn't.
Tommy's trying to get sympathy, so he's sitting up there, y'all ain't gonna help, standing out there on the balcony, nigga splaining himself, right? But remember when Kevin was talking to Nicki Minaj, and all of
Yes.
these dudes said, Kevin fucked up, because if that was me, I'd have told Nicki, ya la la, right? Well, if I was next to that Brittany Renner chick, I'd have did, right?
Right. They wouldn't have done shit.
Well, they did then, but Tommy did do what they said that
Oh,
they would have done, and he got
yeah.
smacked up by a woman.
Yep. Smack, smack.
So what that basically shows is the reason why y'all have problem with women is because you don't have self-control to control the situation, to control yourself, and to do things in
Mm-hmm.
which the conversation doesn't get there. I've been on plenty of panels. Matter of fact, I give you a perfect example.
Go ahead.
Nadia is in the chat right now. Me and Nadia had a
Yes,
great
yeah.
time on her panel, right? Great time,
Beautiful.
right? We
Beautiful.
you was up there too. We had a
Yes.
wonderful time
A
on the panel,
wonderful, wonderful time.
right? There were points where we were sitting up there having a conversation, right?
Mm.
And we disagreed on some points,
Yes, we did.
right? But
Yes,
there
we
was
did.
no disrespect. I had
No.
my point of view, she had her point of view, and then that was the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a certain person that perceived themselves to be a person of the arts of having women making money off of being horizontal, that um, was up there having the conversation with several other women, and tables were flipped, chairs were thrown, right? You know, the
Man
variety
was
type
being thrown at.
of walking around with goldfishes in his platform shoes still. But we're not going to talk about that. We'll get to that at another date and time, right? But the energy level rose to the disrespect was going back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point where then I had a conversation with the same woman. We had a conversation. She said her piece. I did not interrupt her. I asked questions.
Mm.
She answered the questions. She said, thank you for agreeing with me. And I basically told her, no, 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 no. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I accept your answers because those are your life experiences. I don't have to agree with them, but if
No.
we still here talking, that means that they were right enough for you to still be here. Whether you won or lost or failed, you learn from them. And I'm just listening to your life experiences because this is all opinion at the end of the day, right? Like we're not talking about empirical data and facts. You know what I mean? We're
No.
talking about percentages. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
but we had that conversation, but there was no disagreement. There was no disagreement to the point where it was this whatever. I don't get into it. I'm not trying to get into a back and forth with a woman online to that degree because she has the right to her opinion and how she lives her life.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, there was an understanding, right? See, we have gotten to the place where we don't accept people's answers.
Mm.
Just because you accept a person's answer, you can still disagree with it, but that means you have to accept the answer. A wrong answer is still acceptance of that answer.
Mm-hmm.
So we first got to learn to accept people's answers. The woman gave him an answer. He should have ended it with that and moved on. Never would have got that way. Matter of fact, Kevin, I do find it funny that they talk about how Kevin took their talking points, but they're running behind Kevin's tracks. Kevin was on Fresh and Fit. So why are you going on Fresh and Fit, Tommy?
So am I what?
You know what I mean? Because was you going on Vlad next? I'm like, you do comedy. So why would you need to be on Fresh and Fraud? You know what I mean? Matter of fact, Alan Roger Curry had that book out since '05. That Mode 1 book. That's when he had all the hair. All the hair. You know, all the hair. Right? And you know what? He did say something. He said he was not given credit.
None.
But he never gave he never gave the guy that made the 48 Laws of Power credit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of his book comes from the Art of Attraction. If you
So
read Mode 1, if you read any books that he's written or the PUA stuff, most of that book, you can bypass all of that mumbo jumbo and hibla hibla, and you can just go read the Art of Attraction.
mm.
You can just get straight to the point with the Art of Attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Art of Attraction basically is a handbook on self-control and understanding certain things, right? Like it's a handbook. Like if you want to know about how to deal with people in relationships, and it's not just, because when people look at the Art of Attraction and things of that nature, you know what? Since we're here,
Please do.
So Robert Greene. Oh, my bad. The Art of Seduction. I'm sorry.
The art
So
of
Robert,
seduction.
yeah, the Art of Seduction, right? Sorry about
Mm-hmm.
that. Not the Art of
Oh,
Attraction, the Art of Seduction. I see. Look at that. See, I can correct myself. I can self-correct, right?
mm-hmm.
So the Art of Seduction. I have the Art of Seduction, the 48 Laws of Power, and the Art of War sitting on my computer. I have it in my phone, and I always refer to these things because I am petty. But anyway, I am
Mm-hmm.
petty. These are my manuals. I mean, these are my tablets of pettiness, right? And when I do not observe the law, right? You can just read these. Now, I understand sometimes you want to spice things up, modernize things, or whatever, but never once in Mode 1 or any of these books did he reference the source material, which is the what? Is the art or the art of seduction. Never once. Never once did he ever reference any of these things. Never.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He never referenced it. See, I got Sun Tzu's Art of War, right? I got this in right here. This is, you know what I mean? Like, it's for other reasons. See, look at it. Sincerely not the Art of War for was that agreements to 48 laws. See, top read, right? And see the Art of Seduction, right? And let me see. See, dating, counting. Is this it? Is this my Art of Seduction over here? Hold on, let me pull it up here. Art of Seduction. Oh, I got it in the thing here. Yeah. Okay. Antiquity. No, that's the dating antiquity. Nope, 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 nope. So that's my 48. Yeah, that's the power. What do I stop pulling it up? Hold on, let me see. References. That's my references. Oh, art of seduction. I got it right here. No, I gotta go look. I gotta go look for it again. There we go. I saved it. Shit, and it's gone. Hold on. But the art of seduction, basically, all of that PUA crap or whatever they call it, the dating coach crap, is just regurgitated,
And bastardized.
yeah, and bastardized to the fullest degree.
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? 33 strategies of war, the art of seduction. Look, you can even just like go type this in like Google search engine and it'll pop the fuck up. Like if you do some research, it'll pop the hell up. Like it's not hard to find the shit. Like it's like right there.
it's
Like
right there.
it's right there. Look at this. Art of seduction. Right? Somebody, anybody. Oh, there it is. Oh, there you go. Look at this. There you go. It's right there. Look,
Oh,
look,
oh, oh,
look,
Lord. Art of seduction.
look. Art of seduction. Right there. Right there.
Mm,
If y'all need it, it's right there. You
mm,
need it right here, right? And see, and this teaches a lot of stuff that's and it actually has historical backing on people that observed these laws and didn't, right?
mm-hmm.
And the beginning of that is him citing all the sources, Robert Greene, right? And I like to read this, right? Here we go. The seductive character, the siren, right? You ain't even got to read the whole thing. You can just read this little synopsis. A
Mm-hmm.
man is often secretly oppressed by the role he has to play, by always having to be responsible, in control, and rational. The siren is the ultimate male fantasy figure because she offers a total release from the limitations of his life. In her presence, which is always heightened and sexually charged, the male feels transported to a realm of pure pleasure in a world where women are often too timid to project an image, learn to take control of the male libido by embodying his fantasy.
Mm.
The first, hold on. The Siren, chapter one, basically says, hoes are winning. Citing sword?
Silence. Dead
What's
silence.
going on, Juan G's? You tall?
Oh, jeez, you tall.
So let's move up here. Let's move up here. The rake. A woman never quite feels desired and approached enough. She wants attention, but a man is too often distracted and unresponsive. The rake is a great female fantasy figure when he desires a woman. Brief though that moment may be, he will go to the ends of the earth for her. He may be disloyal, dishonest, and amoral, but that only adds to his appeal. Stir a woman's repressed longings by adapting the rake's mix of danger and pleasure. You know what the rake is? Okay, so you got the siren, which is hose. The rake
Ray
is Ray Ray. See, this is why that whole Pookie and Ray Ray educated lame argument is a fallacy. All men needs a Ray Ray. You need to
Yeah.
be three-tiered man. You need to be the educated man. You need to be the fucking defend. I'm gonna fuck your shit up, man. And you need to be the strategist or the dude that bends and skirts the rules or get close to the edge. You need to be the Ray dude. This is the rake right here. That's the rake. Rake, aka Ray. See how this
Ladies, be
works?
careful. I'm a rake.
Listen, you know what? You don't have to listen to me. Just listen to the white guy that wrote the book. Don't listen to me. I'm just repeating what the white guy said. Things sound better. Coffee tastes better through a white filter. Oh, all right. Well, let me continue to read. All right,
Continue.
now,
Continue. Ideal lover. Ooh,
the
ooh.
ideal lover.
Okay, here we
Most
go.
people have dreams in their youth that get shattered or worn down with it. Oh my God. That sounds like the manosphere in the first. Let me put this down. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Continue
ooh,
reading. Continue reading,
ooh.
please. Please.
Okay, all right.
Continue reading.
They find themselves disappointed by people, events, reality. This hurts. Y'all,
Ooh.
ooh, ooh, ooh.
Kinda hot.
Hold on. Where's Sister Nadia at? I can feel it in my shoulders.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Should we summon her to the temple of petty?
I can
Number
feel it
7.
in my shoulders. Hold on, let me read that again. They find themselves disappointed by people, events, reality, which cannot match their youth. Ideas, ideal lovers thrive on people's broken dreams, which become lifelong fantasies. Your long for romance, adventure, and lofty spiritual communion. The ideal lover reflects your fantasy. He, think about this, right?
Mhm.
He or she is an artist in creating the illusion you require. In a world of disenchantment and baseness, there is a limitless seductive power in following the path of the ideal lover.
Mm. Mm.
Now, technically, you're not supposed to read this yet until you've understood and applied the 48 laws, 33 strategies of war. Then you're supposed to get to this part. This is the psychological warfare
The
part.
dandy.
Oh, the dandy. The dandy. I don't see nothing about polo shirts in here, but let's go ahead.
Let's
Okay.
go ahead. Let's go ahead. Shall we? Shall we continue?
Most of us feel trapped within the limited roles that the world expects us to play. We are instantly attracted to those who are more fluid than we are, those who create their own persona. I think Kevin's a dandy. Do you think Kevin's a dandy? I think Kevin's a dandy, right? He walks around in the suit, Chelsea boots, smelling like sweet masculinity, all of that crazy stuff. But let's get right.
Let's continue, shall we? Let's continue.
Dandies excite us because they cannot be categorized and a hint at a freedom we want for ourselves. They play with masculinity and femininity. They fashion their own physical image, which is always startling. Use the power of the dandy to create ambiguous, alluring presence that stirs repressed desires. Like a prince, right? This dude was actually walking around in high heels.
Right. What's
Oh,
going on, y'all?
what's
What's
going
going
on?
on? What's going
Hello,
on?
hello. Good morning, afternoon.
Good morning. How you
Morning,
doing?
lovely.
I'm
What's
doing
going
good.
I'm saying? I'm just, we got, people saying that people are stealing people's like and not giving them credit for their work, but we're just going back to the base material, right? It's just looking at the charmer and the charismatic, the star. Look at this, the anti-seducer,
Oh,
the seducer's victims, the 18 types. Look at this right here. Choose the right victim. This is a manual, right? But see, this is also a
ooh.
manual if that See, a lot of people don't understand about the art of seduction is some people are they don't understand consciously that they're doing this. They just have these natural gifts here, right? And the good thing about reading something like this and understanding it and applying it is that you can actually point out what people are doing and you can defend yourself against these things. So you keep a straight head.
Right.
You know, because some people are not built to do none of this stuff at all.
No, they're not.
They're not. Right?
Well, it takes more than just reading. You have to actually comprehend the stuff.
And apply it.
Yes.
See,
Yep.
I'm glad you said that, lovely. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Y'all are funny this morning. The petty is funny.
We have to keep it entertaining in this Sunday sermon. We have Deacon Ronan with his hand up. Please, sir.
Please, sir.
It is a pleasure and honor to be back in the Palace of Petty again. But
Oh yeah.
are you referring to masculine cosplay again?
Yes.
Absolutely, masculine cosplay it is.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop reading this. Y'all can.
See, I have the red because y'all were Ani was getting to the root of things. So I said, you know what? Let me turn on the red light for this.
Oh shit!
Get to the root of things.
Roger Zane, turn on the red light.
Yeah.
Let me turn on my
Y'all are
diffuser.
funny.
Hey.
Oh, I got that going on over there.
I just get to the point. Yes. It just goes to show that when there is no self-preservation, you get these sad excuses that who call themselves men, derelicts.
Say it with your chest.
Yeah, these fucking derelicts.
So what you're implying is literally always been the derelict sphere. Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
I think there was a time where, because I would say this, when I came around in 20, I didn't know that's what it was called. I just came around and men were actually having manly conversations, talking about a multitude of things, and the whole relationship thing was about 1 to 10% of a conversation that went on for 12 to 14 hours on Google Hangouts in front of a live audience once a week.
Yeah.
That's all it was, right? And then it was more about the community social issues, and then there were different segments, right? And there was certain things that you knew not to take seriously, like satire and jokes. And then there were things where you looking at these dudes kind of wide-eyed, like, what's wrong with these dudes? And then there were people that were grounded, but then you saw something that was very weird and telling. It was the people started switching roles. Like it was like Uno, right? It was like, all right, man, it's your turn to look over the crazy can't get nothing guy. So you draw 4. And right? You know what I mean? And then it's like I give you a perfect example, right? And because I have like elephant memory. So there was at 2018, the person that now wears a now later beard, was in excellent defense of not just black women, but single mother black women.
Ooh.
He might have burnt the tapes, but they're there.
Do tell.
Yeah, he was like, single mothers are noble women and rah 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 for the community. Yeah, he did say this. Yes, he did say this.
I do remember this for verbatim. Yeah. He did.
Yeah, right. Now, the person that were calling about park apeism and stuff like that was Obsidian.
Yeah.
Right? Obsidian was over there, right? Okay, he was over there. Okay. Now, Cynthia G at this time were still calling black men dominated, dusty beta male coons, right? But
Beta male
you know
cool.
what she hated worse than that was swirlers, female swirlers, black women that dealt with white men. She couldn't stand it, right?
Wait, you said Cynthia G?
Yes.
Yes, Cynthia G, but AK no.
Wait. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but has she done a switch then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I stepped away. That's why I'm like, that don't sound like the one I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was against it. Now before that, Cynthia G was super pro black and black.
In the beginning, she was super pro black before she switched.
Yeah, before she
with
switched.
all due respect, let's say if you notice the pattern, a lot of this shit is all seasonal.
There you go.
Yeah, Ronan's correct. It's all seasonal, and
so
they
it's
love
be
all
whatever
circles.
for pay. So
Yeah,
is it
but
be whatever for pay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what it is, it's all like in a circle. Like over the years, I've seen people progress the same shit, and what they've done is they adapt to different things. And why I find it funny when they have problems with people, it's always the same pattern. I was like, this is the same shit I see all the time. And then when I go on Aboriginal Powers channel, they talk about the same stuff. I say, this is so 10 years ago. I was like, oh my God, the same old arguments, the UCC laws. And I said, you know what? And I said, Cerulean and Dre is correct. And I scratched my head. I said, is this circle jerking going on?
Yeah.
Is this ultimate dereliction going on? What have we done for the last decades not produce any content? And I think I told this to Gino yesterday. I said, man, and I'm glad Jay Sean touched on it. They just don't want to do shit. And he said, they're losers. He said, it ain't just a certain individual. It's the loser ones that you see that talks bad about women all day. And then I said to myself, I said, Jay Sean, you're absolutely correct. I should have told him that yesterday. I said, you know what? That's exactly what I thought of him like 2 years ago. Yeah. Go ahead, Ronan.
Well, I want to say this is excellent points, because the thing is, like, great leaders create great leaders, which is why I've coined the phrase fear and fail porn, because all the shit you talk, you have to stand accountable for the shit you put out. Most individuals figure that if they monetize mediocrity, you can keep you on the hamster wheel, take your money, and discard you when they feel like doing it.
$50 cash app, stack up and match up.
So it's the idea, like, you take great pride in being a failure fluffer. That's just what you do.
Yep.
There you go.
You have it.
And for the congregation, can we get one more
I'll go on mute.
Can we get another like here? You know me, for the congregation. Can we get a like for the stream? Support the channel.
Support your interest. Support your interest.
If I could like it twice, I would.
How many we got on the stream? Oh, we got 9 likes on the stream, folks. Get them likes up, please.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll take that.
Can we get a like on the? Can we get it to 10? Because I got a special gift for you for this day. You know.
Oh yes, please.
You know,
we got a special gift.
Oh, we got 10.
7 of petty.
Oh, we got 10. We got 10. Lord Jesus, we gotta bring out the choir. We gotta bring out the choir.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. I'm going on mute.
Please.
Hold on. Wait a minute. There. It's stupid. What is going on? Yeah, really. What? Oh, God damn it, man. These motherfuckers. What the fuck is it? What? No. What the fuck? This is bullshit. You know what? I'm gonna do this.
Well, we'll come back after these messages, but enjoy this countdown.
This is
What about Kevin? And Kevin doing good work. And Kevin. Behind each ear. Oh, God, I love this. Behind each ear. Oh, God, I love this stuff. Behind each ear. Oh, God, I love this stuff.
All right.
Hey, and
Woo!
we got these 7 people coming back.
Version. What is that?
Yeah. Oh
Huh?
man.
Oh,
Is
it's
that an oil?
yeah, it's a body oil.
It's a
Oh,
body
okay,
oil.
okay.
Oh,
It's a
Mm-hmm.
body oil. Like,
You enjoying that lollipop?
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate
Appreciate you.
Yes.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate 10 likes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Like,
Thank you very much.
we actually,
you're
we
the real
actually give that.
MVP.
You're the real MVP. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Well,
like,
you need one more for good luck. 11 is a good number.
oh yeah, they come back. Hey, listen, we like to do things in
Yeah.
whole
I already
numbers.
made a wish.
We
We'll
like-
talk about that another.
yeah. but you,
Okay.
but it's like when you look around, right? Like, I give you a perfect example. Okay,
Mhm.
every time I look at the Lapeef network, right? Right.
Yeah.
When I first heard them, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." Okay, they're black people, they're men and women having conversation about social etiquette structures, things of that nature, and they're actually having these conversations, even though they may be heated, but they're pointed on topic conversations that are presented. Everybody has the cameras on. They're doing whatever they're doing. This is how we interact. I get it. It's cool. It's fine, right? Because it's no different than looking at Fox Soul, some type of talk show or whatever.
Now, what is the con, advisor?
Well, there is no con to it because they're just giving you what you asked for, right?
Mhm.
The issue with this is that then you look at Antoine Daniels' channel, it's a 24-hour hotline of the same shit.
Mm.
Yep.
Whose channel? I didn't hear you.
Antoine Daniels.
Oh, I was
Right?
on there
Yeah.
yesterday.
See? See?
I was on there yesterday, and what I find is that if a woman comes on a panel and she's making sense, they will go around the way and about to try to discredit her or to make it seem like she's crazy. Yeah, they're all lames to me.
And now I'm glad that you said that, right? Because it wasn't like that before. It was actually a well balanced conversational piece channel where both sides of the fence could actually bring into the middle. And okay, I agree with you on this. I don't agree with you on that. Okay,
But as he says, it's a dictatorship. So therefore, I feel like a lot of that is planned. They know what to say, when to say it. They have their questions down, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it was a little too organized. And a few people did say it was boring. They were going to sleep. And I've noticed that they started livening it up. They're they're giving a little more pushback. They're letting a little rowdiness get in there because, you know,
Mhm.
people falling asleep. So
Well,
they're falling into the game.
well, the thing is, it's like, but
Ani.
and then we can ask a question. We can ask this one question, and I'm gonna say this one thing right here is that someone would basically say, "Well, why do black people have to act this way?" And why are you blaming black folk when you look at Fox News or CNN and they're yelling at each other on the news?
But wait, is it only black people that act like that? It's only highlighted, I believe, because it's us.
There
But
you go.
everyone gets hype. There are some people, in other cultures, just to hear them speak, you would think they're cussing you out. They speak with that much passion and aggression.
Have you ever watched? I think this is very funny and very hilarious, right? I have a dark sense of humor. So what I like to do is I like to peruse YouTube for the dumb stuff that other people do other than black folk. And I actually found it very interesting looking at a parliament in like England and how they deal with each other. This is the government in England, how they talk to each other, right? Because they got British accents, so it's like high level petty, right? but they
Mhm.
be talking to each other like they be cracking jokes. They
Have you
be
ever
being,
seen the ones when they throw their shoes? They
yep.
even throw
You know,
shoes at each other.
throwing,
Hmm.
I saw one where they was fighting. They was throwing hands, smacking each other, knocking each other, throwing hands.
Right.
Everybody's fighting. These dudes are in suits, right? It's this thing about how I remember growing up. The news was the news, and it was, it was every so often that even when a person got angry in an interview, they would just get up and leave.
Right.
Because you still
Yes.
had to show a decency and decorum. You had to walk off, right? Like, remember Barbara Walters would ask those tough questions on 60
Mhm.
Minutes, and the person would get up and leave, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then they'd do that narration, that voiceover. You know, they would do that narration and voiceover. Now you got, Gail sitting up there like looking scared, right? You got
Like a lost
the
puppy.
like a lost puppy, like R. Kelly's yelling at the screen. Oh my god! Like, you know what I mean? You got the what's the other one? What's the girl, the girl that accused the black kid and attacked him about stealing a cell phone, right, in the hotel, right? She up there shushed her and said this interview was, you know what I mean? Like, this thing has been sensationalized because of the advent of talk shows, reality television. It's like Jerry. We grew. It's like Jerry Springer. Like, the only way how people know how to act and react and be entertaining is that it has to be spicy.
Pretty
You
much.
But
know,
is that true? I don't believe that that's true. We give that narrative, because that's not what draws me in. I believe there's a lot of people that don't want that, but that's not what's pushed.
they psychological conditioning.
Yep.
Psychological conditioning. Give you a perfect example on something of that nature. It's like like I was watching Bel Air, right? The
Mhm.
New Fresh Prince thing they got going on, right? It's actually pretty good. I'm watching Bel Air. It's very serious. It's a drama. Very serious, right? Very actors done very well. Done very well. So
Mhm.
watching this drama and I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, I was like, this is very gritty. This is like, this is like Power esque type of grit when you watch these. Have y'all watched Bel Air?
I saw snippets.
The
No.
new season or Bel Air?
I just saw a couple of excerpts on YouTube
Yeah.
because I remember seeing it
Oh,
4 years ago with the trailer, and Will Smith saw it and he wanted to get it going, right? But I saw a couple of snippets. It was the one where the Uncle Phil and I think Will, his homeboy, called him and he was trying to get back to Philly because they thought he snitched on the drug dealer because his Uncle Phil's a lawyer or whatever, and he pulled some strings to get him out of jail. But everybody and his homeboy's trying to call him back because of whatever, because of the straighten it out or whatever. Anyway, him and Uncle Phil had an exchange and they were talking, and Will, it was a very powerful thing, right? And we got powerful like acting. Everybody remember the time when Uncle Phil was there for Will with his daddy, and he did that whole breakdown of why he don't want, right? Everybody remember that, right?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Right? We all remember that. See that? That was like years ago. Like, the show that went off the air, right? We remember that, right? We remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But those were one of many moments. We remember the thing about Carlton trying to pledge to be in a fraternity and he wasn't black enough.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Also showed another. That also showed another side that they didn't want to talk about.
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying? Carlton. Remember the part where the older woman was messing with Carlton and took his virginity, right? Just snatched his cookies, right? You know what I mean?
Or when he had a baby put on him too.
Yeah, when he had a baby put on him,
Yeah.
right? When he had a baby put on him, right? Um, you know, there was a lot of things that we can take little segments out of it, but most of the show that ran for about 5 seasons was a complete blur, other than certain points because it was comedy. We know Jazz getting thrown out the house, but we never seen Will mature.
No.
He kind of stayed on that level of the jokester, laughing. It was like he couldn't get right all the way up until the end of the show.
Yeah, but you don't think that was just to lighten it up because so it wouldn't be too serious?
But that was the problem.
Because it was serious issues they were talking about, but he softened it up with his humor.
It's still a problem though.
But that was the problem. It wasn't that it was funny, right? Because let's look at a different world, right?
Mm-hmm.
They matured through the whole show, through the whole season of the show.
Yeah.
Right? They hit every end of a different world, right? The first thing that we got was the single mother.
That was my favorite show too when I was a kid.
The first season, right?
Guess,
Remember old girl? She was the older one, and she had a kid, and she was staying downstairs in the dorm. This is when Marissa Tomei was on the first season. She was the only white woman. She was in a different world. People forget about that, right? And she was there. Then old girl that played Denise Huxtable, and then Whitney. She played the Southern Belle, whatever. Dude that played Dwayne Wayne, he was the nerd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you had his homeboy Ron, right? And then we remember all of these people, and what I'm saying, and Freddie and all of this, but we saw the maturation of them over the years, how they grew into adults, how they took the places of certain people in that show, in that community.
But I think that's what you were missing when I said with Will, because there are some men who get stuck at a certain age. They still mature as far as body and having families or whatnot, but mentally they are still that young boy in high school.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, maybe that is what the Fresh Prince was representing, that this boy couldn't grow up. He had a father figure, but it wasn't his father. There's a difference.
I.e. this space.
I'm sorry.
An example would be this space. You're talking
just like Baby, yes, and Baby Boy. Baby Boy is another good example of men growing up in society, but still mentally not ready for the reality of life.
Yeah, reality of life. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Like but that was the overarching problem. Is if that, and what I mean by it is the problem. If let's just say Carlton, right? If the show was about Carlton, and then that happened to Will, then it made sense, right? But if you look at in the Cosby show with Debbie Allen writing it, Theo never really got himself together
because he couldn't live up to his father nor his mother. Right.
But the problem is Theo never got himself together. But the problem is that if you look at it, we looked at it back in the day like, oh man, Theo whatever. But when Theo kind of got himself good and fine, and he was making those decisions, and he was just in that track, then we found out he had dyslexia. So he had a problem, right? He had a problem. Learning disability that he had to work around. He wasn't stupid. They thought he was just slow or stupid, or he just wasn't applying himself. When we watched the Cosbys up until the time when he was trying to get to college, and then they start putting out this thing about learning disorder, dyslexia. It's a thing, right? People have it, right? And then once he got that fixed, he started excelling. And then when we saw him in Cockroach in college and stuff like that, but he wasn't getting a lot of screen time. Right, that we watched it, but now when we look at it at hindsight 22, Theo was actually being emasculated in the household the whole time.
Yep.
But I could agree with that. That's what with his sisters, whatnot. He wasn't responsible for anything. They tried to show him responsibility, but it was a taught responsibility versus an actual him having to be responsible.
Hmm.
He didn't have to.
Well, he didn't have to because look at his. But where do men learn that responsibility?
I'm gonna use real life. Okay,
Mhm.
so the way I grew up, yeah, I had to be responsible. I pretty much raised my sisters. But once I had my kids, the things that I had to go through, I don't want them to go through it. So they don't have that life. I'll sit here and say, my life was harder than my son's. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, I'm harder than they are, but it's not their fault. So sometimes I get it confused that they don't understand the struggle. But it's like, Alicia, you kept them from the struggle.
That's facts.
You get what I'm saying?
It's
Mhm.
facts. And what I mean, and what I also meant by the emasculation process of Theo, it wasn't his mama's fault. It wasn't his sister's fault. It was his daddy's fault.
Dr. Huxtable.
It was Dr. Huxtable's fault. Now let me switch it up. Let's look at the Jeffersons. We knew without a shadow of a doubt who ran that damn house,
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying? And if we look at the Cosbys versus the Jeffersons, right? Now they're both on the same wavelength of what you're talking about structure when it came to money, right? He was rich, he was rich, right? No, his wife was a lawyer, he was a doctor, right? He was a baby doctor, right? She was a lawyer, right? Okay. We look at George Jefferson, right?
And his wife, she did community service. She helped out around the community.
You know what I'm saying? And she also helped with the business too, right? So
Yeah.
and they had a maid, right? So they had a maid, they had this, they had that, right? And they had a neighbor. The only other black person that was the neighbor was the black woman that was married to the white man that was down that was that was a couple of
Well,
doors
I
over
think
there.
they only had the maid so that they could differentiate that Louise was not a homemaker.
There you
You
go.
get what I'm saying?
Weezy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Weezy was not a homemaker. She had the freedom to be like a socialite, do community service, but they had the maid so you wouldn't get it confused that she was like the Brady Bunch, the homemaking mom.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing was, and that was like I had to do some research on that, and that's because Sherman Helmsley, he asked, we need to get a maid in here because if you think about it, Wheezy, she wasn't the prototypical looker per se, right? So she would easily get confused with being the homemaker, right? See, look at Felicia Rashad, right? Look at Wheezy, right? And look at
I
and
have
look
to
at
disagree because Florida Evans was a homemaker
well, but what I'm
and
talking
she
about is
wasn't a lookup.
you see exactly if Wheezy didn't have the maid, then you would automatically assume that she was the what? She was a homemaker
Mhm.
because she looked like Florida Evans. You look at Felicia Rashad, right? Look at how she looks. Now remember on the Jeffersons, I forgot the lady's Ellen, right? Ellen, right?
Yeah.
That was next door, right?
Yeah.
Ellen, she was married to the white man, but look how she looked. She was thin, she was tall. She had that Diana Ross look. She looked like Diana Ross almost, right?
Mm.
So we that was what they made this about the 70s or something. Right about the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Because it was the Jeffersons was a spinoff of All in Archie Bunker, All in the Family. No, it was Archie Bunker. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah. All in the
Was it
family.
All in the Family? All in the Family, right? All in the Family, right? So if you look at that, right, then if you look at how they would set people, right, like remember Family Matters, how they replaced
With
they went ahead
Jamie Foxworthy.
they replaced their mom, right, and they were
Yeah, you're right. They didn't
yeah,
do that.
right. We didn't even know where she worked at anymore because she didn't work no more. Like the next season, she was gone. Because remember, the mom that was on Family Matters started off. on Perfect Strangers. She worked in that. She was the elevator lady on Perfect Strangers, and that's where the Family Matters spinoff came from, right?
Mm.
But if you ever look at how they depict dark-skinned women in television when we grew up, they were either struggling,
Yep.
or they were the homemakers. And if they were lighter, brown skin or lighter, they lived a good life.
Narratives.
See that psychological
So
condition?
are you saying being a homemaker was less than?
No,
Because I
I'm
would
not,
think her being able to be at home was like,
oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just
they
saying.
didn't have to have a 2-income household.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, just look at how they psychologically, socially conditioned
Yep.
from the 70s to the early 80s, and then you start getting this colorism thing pop back up in the black community by the trope that we get. The darker skinned women have to work harder and be suffering, while the lighter toned women get to sit and live the good life in the little glass jar and the thing. And you get this colorism thing, right? That start permeating and pushing. Like if you look at it, right? It's like look at Different Strokes.
Yep.
Right? The darker skinned kid, right? What you talking about, Willis? Barry Coleman was smart, was short, right? He had a smart mouth, but the lighter or the browner skinned kid, his brother Willis, was tall, athletic. All the girls liked him, right? If you look at those tropes that they put in there, right? If you look at all of that, right? If you're a black kid and you got something, you were saved by some white people. Look
Yeah.
at Webster. Look, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, look at Breaking One. When they was breakdancing, the white girl had to save the community. They was
To a
up there
smaller-
dancing.
Well, in a small extent, you can look at the facts of life too.
Mm-hmm. The facts of life. Matter of fact, Punky Brewster. There's another one, right?
Yeah, Punky Brewster. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Because remember her and the other girl that she always played in those shows, they were both adopted. Right? They was both adopted. But Sally Moonflower was adopted by a man. So she had a father in her life, right? Where the like if you look at these tropes that they're pushing, and I'm not saying that a lot of women weren't homemakers and it's not less than. I'm just saying, just think about it for a second, is that the Jeffersons was the absolute exception to the rule. Is that they had to put her, Weezy, a dark-skinned woman, to have a maid. Remember, the other dark-skinned woman, she didn't have a maid.
Nope.
They lived in the projects.
You know what I'm saying? Well, remember,
Right,
Ellen
they lived in the projects.
Yeah,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But I mean, like the other dark-skinned women on the Jeffersons. Remember Ellen that was married to the white guy, right?
Mhm.
Which is Lenny Kravitz's mom.
Yeah.
But Ellen, she was a homemaker. So Weezy was actually at a higher status, and George Jefferson was at a higher status because he was able to afford a maid.
Yeah.
The white guy didn't have a maid.
Yeah, he
But we
did.
ordered-
Right.
Yeah, So that means Weezy actually had a better quality of life than her friend Ellen that lived next door that was married to the white guy.
It was Helen. Her name was
Helen.
Helen.
Right? Yeah, Helen. So Weezy actually had a higher quality of life than Helen, right? That was so. And here's the thing: George Jefferson not only took care of his wife and had a maid, but he also had his mother living with him there too. So he was actually being a patriarch, and he had his son there too.
You know, the cold irony was, in real life, Sherman Hemsley was a toaster oven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
most of them were. Most of them were. Carl Winslow, Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil, yeah.
Dude that played Carl Winslow.
Yeah, most of them were.
The dude, the father from the Brady Bunch.
Seven Heaven.
Seven.
Yep.
Yeah. But You know, he said that husband played the clueless beta.
Yes.
Lenny Kravitz's mother played the mask and rope. Yep. See,
Yeah.
and that was another thing. I'm glad Nadia brought this up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? They had
Mhm.
the dark skinned black woman made her play the masculine role.
Mask on roll. That's facts. That's true.
Right?
Mhm.
The husband played a clueless beta. Yeah, that's true. That's most
Yep.
of our, they always do. Naughty.
They
They always.
always.
Yep. They always do that. hmm They always do that. They always do that. You know, was another show that was very telling, that kind of showed you something about
What?
society and it was changing.
What show?
I Love Lucy.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. Good one.
I
Ooh.
Love Lucy. Right? You notice that her friend Ethel that was next door to her, right? Her friend Ethel that was next door to her was not scared of her husband, but Lucy was scared of her husband, but her husband was Cuban. But we keep forgetting that her husband was Cuban until he told us he was Cuban because he looked white.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he had a club.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Television was a cold motherfucker.
It was so they was basically telling, they was actually subconsciously basically subverting men, especially white men, to think that the only people that your women are going to listen to and get scared of are these Cubans that are infiltrating in Miami.
Yeah. Propaganda.
Propaganda.
Good Lord.
Just
good
cold
Lord.
as a bitch.
Propaganda.
Cold.
God damn it. Propaganda.
Mhm.
Propaganda.
Yeah,
No,
He said-
ASAP.
yeah.
But
That was
what's also, Dre, that you remember is like with all these television programs and tropes and all that, beforehand, the family's a lot tighter then.
yep. You remember that show Mama's Family?
Yep.
Oh man.
Mama's Family, What's Happening.
Yeah.
You name it.
Yeah. And those shows
Oh, what's
really got,
happening?
it was at what's happening now,
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like, if you looked at it, it was happening on both sides of the aisle.
The original Big Shirley.
Mhm.
The original Big Shirley, what's happening now? Mama's Family
Honey,
on
you funny.
Big
Mama-
Shirley.
Mama's Family, right? Like if you look at Mama's Family, right? They was actually showing you the trailer park.
Yep.
Yep.
That was trailer park, right?
Remember.
Like think about it. The nephew, right? Like where was his mama at? Bubba. Remember Bubba? He was living with his grandma because his mama dropped him off.
Yeah.
Right? Then his uncle, right? Vince was a locksmith, but he was a beta. And then he had the bimbo wife.
Yep.
Right? And they lived in the basement in his mama's house.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you remember it, right? You know what I'm saying? It was, and then there was a woman that wanted Vince, right? What was her name? She looked like olive oil and shit. She used to come over there all the time and shit.
It's on tip of my tongue.
Right?
I didn't hear who you said again.
Okay, remember the show. Remember the show.
All the family.
Mama's Family.
Oh,
No,
Mama's
Mama's Family.
Yeah.
And there was a woman that was her friend, but she grew up with her son Vincent, right? That was still living with his mom in the basement with his wife, but she would still come over and try to throw herself at Vincent, right? And she was the wholesome woman that he should have married, but he went and married the hoe.
Yeah.
The dumb blonde, right? Right. And this was like the 80s.
Then you graduate to Married with Children.
Then you go to Married with Children, right? Which shows you what the failed high school, like captain of Polk High that's still living in the glory days, right?
Mhm.
That's like the original. Like think about it. Married with Children was basically telling you about the manosphere beforehand. It was disgruntled men. They had no ma'am. You know what I mean? It was failed. You had to do Jefferson where his wife ran him, like because he was like a kept dude.
So you know you
Like,
did double M. Come on now.
you know,
No, you didn't.
yeah, but if you think about it, they were literally showing you the degradation of American white society.
Yep.
Right then and there, that was coming.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
They were actually telling you what was going on. It was telling you what was going on. And then you think about it, next thing we get is what? Now we in MTV, the real world, roll rules. You know what I mean? Like, we still doing sitcoms, but they doing reality television.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they up there subverting theirs, right? So you got what? Like, remember they had them tapes called When Girls Gone Wild?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? Girls Gone Wild. They had the tapes. Buy them now, $19.95 plus shipping and handling. We take CODs and money orders. 1-800 Girls Gone Wild. You know what I mean? Spring break of these white girls acting a whole fool.
Going like this.
You know what I'm saying? Flashing.
Yeah,
Down
but
there,
in no, they've been doing that forever. Well, they don't do it now, but
They
Oh,
still
they
do
still
it.
do it. They still do it. It's just that, you
They
just
still
make
do
them
it.
sign NDAs now. Non-disclosure agreements. So
what do you
don't want them to
mean?
come
They still
back.
do what?
Oh, they
Where?
still do that.
No,
You
just
talking
check.
the video or you saying New Orleans?
No. Oh no, no, I'm
Wait,
just
wait,
saying.
which part? I got you got disconnected with
I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
like,
I was saying they used to do that, but they don't do it as much. Or you could go to jail for that now on
Oh yeah,
Bourbon.
New Orleans, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, New Orleans.
Hey.
Aye.
Hey, what's going on?
Shoulders.
What happened to Ronan?
Hey, Cyril.
Oh, he's coming back. He's
Oh,
back.
there
Oh,
you go.
okay.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh.
Come back.
Hey, Dre.
How you doing? I can feel it in my shoulders.
Hey, I'm feeling it in my shoulders.
pettiness.
No, this is a good topic. I had to jump up because this is really good because it's so true about I think when you look back at those shows, even though I wasn't born then, because I'm only 27. My kids are around the same age.
Let me get out of there. Let me get out of there. Let me get out of
I'm
there.
a miracle.
Let me get out of there.
But anyway,
You done caught up. You done caught up.
I think that when you think about
Let me get out
women's
of there.
rights, when you think about women's rights, that whole movement, things like that, you put in even further in the 80s, the crack epidemic and all of that, and women having to take care of families. It was the projection on TV shows that it started around, I want to say the 70s, if you can remember. A lot of these shows, 70s or whatever, and they gave the women more power in the shows, and it made it seem like, especially with Black women, so Weezy wasn't so much of she had a backbone, but it was the friend. It was the friend and that dynamic of Lenny Kravitz's mother and a husband, how he was damn near the woman and she was a husband. It was just, reversed. That gave a lot of women, it's subconscious. It's like, you don't really, we say that, oh, we don't follow what we see on TV and things like that, but you kind of do. You kind of do. And it's
Absolutely.
that,
That's why they call it, it's programming.
Exactly.
It's a program.
I want to bring this up, right? And I'm glad Nadia brought that part up. I remember when I was young, while my mom was getting ready to go to church, you know how Black folk is. We like to spend all day on Sunday in church.
Child, we in both services, ain't it?
All 3 services, right?
Sunday school and church.
So before we would go,
chicken was good.
Hey,
wow, you from the South, Nadia?
My family's from the South, but we're in Jersey.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
South North.
I'm just gonna claim Jersey, all right? Because I'm born and raised up here. Yeah.
So what I would literally sit up there, and while I was waiting, while my mom was getting ready to go to church, right? She's pre-game to go to church, and we was sitting up there. I'm watching television, and I remember this show used to come on, and it was called Blondie. right? It was a show. They colored it all of a sudden. It used to be black and white, but they colored it, remastered. They was doing that Technicolor stuff, and it was a show about this woman named Blondie, and she had a husband, and his name was Dagwood Bumstead. That's what his name was.
Dagwood Bumstead.
And the
This
reason
was
I
a
remember-
show, or are you saying the comic strip? Because I remember the comic strip in the
It was
paper.
actually
Yeah, I remember the comic strip.
it was actually a show. Like they would have like it was a show, right? So they had these movies that they did, and I guess it came out in the late 50s, almost 60s. Because my mom remembered this show when she was growing up as a girl, right? And she said, "Why they playing that? That's old." But when I started watching it, I noticed something. Blondie, right? Because you know that thing when they say, "Oh, you're blonde," like you're dumb, right? But Blondie wasn't dumb; she was smart. But because she was a female and she was a woman at home, she couldn't do things that men could do. Her husband was an idiot, right?
Yeah.
I remember him being late going to work and running over the mailman all the time.
Yep.
Right? And and that was the funny trope, but he worked at this company, but she would actually come up with the inventions and he would take them to work. And then he would try to do extra and fuck it up, and she would literally unfuck it.
But see, that's more programming. It's like, okay, you think she's blind, she's dumb, but she's actually the brains of the operation. So some people will get it, and others will just fall suit to the smoke and mirror.
Yeah, but they would show him what was behind it, right? And just like, go ahead. Honey.
I was gonna say, do you guys remember? Now this is way back. Again, I wasn't born, but
I wasn't
so you guys
either.
remember? You remember Gumby? You remember?
Yeah.
Gumby? You guys remember after Gumby? There was a show, and I remember being really small, asking my mother these questions. So after Gumby, it was a praying family. It was a white family. Do you guys remember that? They were like made out of clay.
House on the Prairie?
No, it was like, damn, I can't think of the name.
I remember a clay family, but I don't know what they were called.
Right, and they were white. So he would say, he was on his way to school, and the mother was like, remember to say your prayers and da 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 da, right? And then but he had a friend that was on the bus that they would go to school together, and it was a black kid. And he will always be mischievous. He will always do something wrong. And then he would say, mother told me to not do X, Y, and Z, like to do this and that you should pray and this, that, and the third. So it was like he was always reprimanding that black kid.
Yeah.
So he was the moral police.
I
think there was a Christian family trying to teach
called the moral
morals.
family?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. But it was about
and
morals.
I said to my mother, I remember being maybe, I don't know. I wasn't alive then. But I asked you know where I'm going with this. But I asked her, I said, why is the black kid always in trouble? Why is he always doing bad stuff? Why, where's his mother? Because we never saw his parents. We just saw him acting up. And so he was like the moral police, the other kid. And the mother would be cooking and getting oatmeal and stuff together in the morning. And she would say, make sure you do this and make sure you do that because God is looking. It was on, I'm in Jersey, so it was Channel 13.
PBS?
Yeah. Because remember, it was so you got Sesame Street, you have Gumby.
Electric
you have
Company.
it was a couple of shows. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and since you bring up Sesame Street programming, they were also programming same-sex living together. Think of
Bernie
Bert and Ernie.
Ernie and Bert. Yeah,
they were in the same room. They had twin beds, but it was the same room. Why not a two bedroom?
Save on money. Shit costs money.
But then they brought that in when they had Oscar and what was his friend's name? They would argue, get into it all the time, but they lived together.
Yeah, like
the word.
Oh wait, who lived with Oscar?
Oscar, it was not Oscar the Grouch. I'm saying another show. His name was Oscar, and he had a friend. This is when they brought it like to reality.
Yes, Oscar and damn it, and he just died. The other one, he just died some years ago.
Right, but they live together, and it's
I
like
remember,
two men
yes.
living together. You know, just the things they would program.
Oh wait,
You
hold
know.
on.
Oscar and
Talking
he
about
was
the
skinny.
odd,
What
Yes,
was
that's the song.
the odd couple.
Oh, I
The
remember
The
odd
that.
Odd Couple.
yeah,
Yes.
Odd
Yeah,
Couple.
but see, that was because because remember they would show the beginning, right? We knew like the dude that was kind of grouchy, because they were friends, but he got a divorce, right? So he had to move in with his friend, right? But we kind of knew that the other guy that he moved in with was kind of fruity gay because the way he acted,
But
right?
how is that mostly? That's how it goes. Most people who
Yeah,
have their life, have their kids, get married, they're done. Then next thing you know, they're sleeping with same sex. It
yeah,
happens quite often.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't think that he moved in just with his friend because he got a divorce. I believe they were a couple.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I say. I totally agree with you, but they were trying to they couldn't come out with it. Like remember, they couldn't openly come out with it until Three's Company, right? Remember,
But
remember
okay.
because remember, the guy that played the old dude that played he played it was Jack Tripper, right, that guy, right? And remember
hmm
he couldn't
Three's
live.
Family.
Well,
Three's
no, Three's
Company.
Company.
Three's Company.
He couldn't
Mm-hmm.
stay with the two girls. He had to act like he was gay because of the landlord wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
allow a heterosexual man, to live in an apartment with two women. So he had to act like he was gay, and they lived in San Francisco.
And Lord,
So
he was struggling.
yeah, and you had to literally, basically, you internalize that all the gay people was okay to live in San Francisco. Like it was putting in your head that every day San Francisco was gay land, right? And then if you looked at Sanford and Son, there was a certain part of California where they would always do the whole thing with their hand, like, oh, he was down at the gay blade, like, and they would do the little hand thing going back and forth and all of that. There was always the trope that they was always pushing. So you could only be gay, openly gay in California, San Francisco.
Yeesh.
Like if you remember it, if you thought about being gay, it was like San Francisco, right? California, San Francisco, or Greenwich Village, New York.
Mm,
It was free to be gay in those two places only
right.
in the 80s. Only, right?
Yeah.
Only, right? Like
Right.
because they couldn't come out with it because they wasn't allowed to, but they was gearing you up for it, right? And then any black man that were around white people in a movie, they had to be gay. Revenge of the Nerds, Mannequin,
Mhm.
you know, you
But
know,
you don't think that that was just their way of being able to push because everyone wants to see an image of themselves portrayed in
mhm,
life situations.
yeah, but
So those who understood what it was,
Yeah,
understood,
mhm,
I agree.
yeah, I agree. But it's like okay, think about it like this, right? Anytime an actor, right, a black actor was in a primary, like okay, Eddie Murphy in The Golden Child,
Hmm.
he had to have a gay scene where he was acting gay, right?
Oh
I
man.
mean, yeah, but I mean, I thought that was more his comedy as well.
Okay, so
Because he
but
played it so well, I almost used to think Eddie Murphy was gay.
well, he was hanging around Rick James in Studio 54, like,
But I'm sure he
but
probably was bisexual.
yeah, exactly, right. So you look at the Eddie Murphy thing, right? Then you look at, okay, so you got Eddie Murphy. So then you got the next one, right? Okay, we talked about Revenge of the Nerds, right? The only black dude that was there that was smart, he was gay.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of it is making the black man look less intimidating. So a lot of
They
that, you understand what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yep,
Yes.
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 That was
And I have
yeah.
no issue. I mean, I love gay people. I love them. I'm surrounded by them. I do, but I do
Yeah.
think there's, it's yeah,
But
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
the,
And I have nothing
It's
against anybody's choice, but I think they've been making men look more and more feminine, and they're playing into the role. They're going right along with it. They're letting them program them.
Well,
And so can you blame women if they don't see men as masculine when they fall for the programming?
and that's the whole thing, right? Where
But
and
is
that's the
that
thing.
now though? Is that just happening now when you say programming? Because like
No,
I
no,
said,
no.
when you,
Programming, I mean, it's been going on. Just how you
right,
brought out the
okay.
point that they made him look less intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I mean, as a woman, I'm going to speak for myself. As a woman, if I see a man and he's flicking his wrist or he matches my energy, I'm not going to have respect for him.
Now I agree because you know what, we all look for that. It's easy. We know what it looks like and what it feels like when he steps in the room. We know who he is.
Yeah.
And when we know he's not that, we X him out immediately in our mind. It's a 2-second situation.
It's
Zip,
done.
not him. Yeah. Yeah.
Before he even open his mouth, he
Being
tilted.
right. It's like being a computer and you just look at him and it says void.
Because it's like if you're asking for respect and you're asking for me to follow, it's like I'm not going to do that. I was telling someone yesterday, if you come to me asking me a question and you feel like I'm going to say no, the answer is already no, so don't even ask it. But if you ask me a question with the notion that I won't say no, you might get a yes. Because I feel like it's a demand and not a request.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, I know you ladies. I know you ladies know, and but just for the sake of having a conversation in the audience, right? Right. That I'm done. I can't with y'all.
Oh,
no,
wait.
no, right? So, the theater, right? Movies, television is nothing but theater just put on television, right? It's just theater, right? Women didn't start being in the theater and playing a role in the theater until around, I think, the 1800s.
Absolutely, you're correct.
So even women roles were actually played all by men.
Yes.
I mean, well, they
boys
use
mostly.
They use black females, slaves, in theater.
Yeah,
and
in
that
theater,
was before then, but that was to make a mockery and body wise and shapes and things like that. They weren't used to. They put us in theater a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's why, when they say they don't like the weaves, the eyelashes and all of that, I'm like, well, men started it, and hey, women have been allowed to wear those things that were created for men to look like women.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I mean is like even like I found out, right, that like the reason why like Bruce Lee's kung fu movies were so revolutionary is because he actually had actual women in his movies.
They were bad.
Yeah, like he actually had women in his movies, and he actually made it a point to show that they were actually women in his movies, to basically break that thing of that whole theater thing, because like kabuki, they still use men, right? They still use men, you know what I mean, in kabuki, you know what I mean. So even the ones that play the women are men, right? So so that whole a man being put in a dress is like this rite of passage, kind of like a rite of passage, or it's kind of like this thing that you have to do when you're an actor in Hollywood. You have to play that role somehow, some way to get that rite of passage. And it depends on your age, right? You know what I'm saying? It depends on your age, because that is like the theater trope. They're going to dress you up, and it's going to happen. Sooner or later, it's going to happen if you're in front of the camera. It's that thing, right? Now, me per se, it's like, okay, because I hear a lot of these older men talking about, hey, these young guys' pants are tight and all this other stuff. And I look back in the day, I say, bro, y'all was wearing mascara, bruh, with hairspray. Like
With
y'all
the
acting like
sparkles.
y'all acting like the Prince Purple Rain era didn't not happen. Like y'all wasn't walking
Hell, I
around with
mean,
all of them
With
zippers.
your cheeks all out and shit.
did it even need to be like in your face with the makeup and things? I mean, look at what was it? Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor looked manly, didn't he? He even
Yeah.
confessed to sleeping with Brando.
Yeah,
Both of them don't look like they went that way. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, Tanya said that, with the goldfishes in them, I'm gonna get you something. Goldfishes in them. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
How many of y'all remember Dolomite? Because there was a
oh yeah,
movie
yes,
that he
God.
did.
Oh, come on. I used
And
to watch that.
he had the car
Oh,
that had the drop top,
But he
and
was
he also had a
he was gay in
phone
real life.
inside of it. But he had a phone inside of his, the car phone, way before we even had a cell phone.
oh
Mm.
yeah. I remember.
Mhm.
I remember.
You remember that? It was like he had the long cord like you usually have with
That
the
long
rotary
ass cord.
phone.
Do you remember cars like that? Oh my God. I
Yeah,
remember the Cadillacs like that with
yeah.
the pin top cushions inside.
Mhm.
Lord have mercy.
But
Like
you
I
wasn't
wasn't
born
born
then.
then. I wasn't born then.
listen,
I
listen,
wasn't born then.
my aunt,
That's
well,
funny.
I call her my aunt, but she's my godmother. I remember she had I remember when I forgot what it was. I remember the year the Maximum came out. Everybody was getting the Nissan Maximum because my cousin got it, and then she rolled up with her cream colored Lincoln Town car
Mm.
with the car phone in it, and it had the touch tone, like it had the pad on the back of the receiver, right? And you
Oh
had
yeah,
Yes,
the
I
hole in
remember
that
that.
one.
yeah,
Yeah, had the padding
yeah,
on the side.
and
Mhm.
you couldn't
That was
get it,
luxury, honey. That was luxury.
Right?
and then and then when we went in the house, right? She said, "Hold on, I gotta get my phone." I was like, "What you mean you gotta get your phone? It's a car phone." She said, "No, baby, this is a cell phone," and she took it off, and it had a strap that
Yeah,
she put
it came
on.
with a bag.
Yeah, it came with a bag. I was
Mm,
like,
mm,
"What
mm,
the
mm.
hell?" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, because you had to have for you to get that cell phone, for you to get that car phone, you had to have an American Express card, a Diners Club card, and you had to
Diners
be
Club,
registered
yep.
with like AAA.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be registered with AAA. Like, see, they don't even know about all that. They don't even know about all that. And if you had to call somebody, you better make it count because it was $2 a minute. They pick up, it was $2.
Yeah.
$2. You know what I mean? And
But
that's it.
truth be told, a lot of those people phones didn't work. They just had them in a
Nope.
damn car.
Facts.
you
Facts.
piece of shit. Can you hear
But
me? Hello?
but see, that was like the thing that when I was looking at like the psychological conditioning of just society, as you get older, you start seeing things more intuitively, and you start looking back at a lot of things. I remember the first time I went to Spain. This is like 2000. I picked up a Maximum magazine. That's the magazine for men, right? But
Mhm.
and I pick up the
Oh yes.
magazine,
Oh yes.
and
I have
we
the
had them
fingers issue.
on. Yeah, we had them on the ship, right? The Maximum magazine. But I picked up the one in Spain. I opened it up, and it's Penelope Cruz on the Maximum magazine, right?
Mm.
Fully topless, just fully topless, like top off, titties flailing in on the page, right? I'm over here like, what's going on? Whoa, hold on, wait a minute. Am I in the porn section? What, what is this, right? And then I look up on a billboard, and there's a woman. I can't read it. It's in Spanish, right? And there's a woman standing there, and she's doing this. She's doing this underwear thing, but she's topless, and
Mm.
she just has like the underwear on, right? Just like in broad daylight, big ass billboard, just right there. You see it, right? The McDonald's is here, the Hard Rock Cafe in Barcelona is up the street, and the billboard's like right there, staring me right in the face, right? And I'm like, what's going on, right? And then, but then I realized after about a week or so of being in Europe, I'm used to it. I'm desensitized to it. It means absolutely nothing.
Look how that worked.
Right? Because it's everywhere, and I'm the only one being weird about it. Everybody else is just, it's normal, right? But in America, you're actually being repressed sexually, which makes the energy more hypersensitive to everything that you see and do and deal with, right? So men deal with women differently in America because it's that they don't know how to deal with it because the society is still holding on to this other thing, right? They don't know how to deal with that energy. You know, and you know, they have their issues, their problems, but there's a reason why that I noticed something about having a conversation with, and this is me in my teens. This is me in my 19-year-old self, right? Is that I found it easier to talk to women at 19 in Europe than I did talking to women in America at 19. So the women that was in my age bracket,
you guys, it's been nice, but I'll come back if y'all are still up.
I ain't ready yet.
You're not ready yet? Oh, okay, never mind.
Did you get that?
So I was trying to figure it out because if I was talking to a woman that was like 28 or 32, I could have those conversations. But I couldn't have the same level of conversation with women that were my age at the time, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, right? But when I was in Europe, I could have those conversations with those women, but the women that were older wouldn't give me the time of day or even talk to me because they knew the area of maturity need to be in, right? But most guys wasn't having those conversations with women that were 19, 20, my age.
Right.
So I felt it kind of weird, but then I started to understand that this is how they're groomed because men and women would have those conversations back and forth. That was normal for them to have conversations about politics and social structure or what they were interested in. So the men were dealing with the women according to intellect mainly. Right? And I was trying to figure out why. Like it was like, why are these women so different? Now, not to say, you know, I mean, I wasn't walking in the poles because the chicks were pretty and stuff like that.
Right.
But I got past that real quick because
you saw it everywhere.
Yeah, you see it everywhere, right? But then I'm talking to her, right, directly. I'm having the conversation. There was, like, you know, the captain was saying, there was no the sexual energy went out the door, right? We was having a conversation, and we were interested in the conversation. So the conversation led to whatever it was. So I'm getting this training at 19 years of age, dealing with these women that are talking in this way. And it was because there was no sexually repressiveness in the society.
Right. So you take that off the table. Now what are we talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was I like to say it was a separation between hoes and state.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're probably asking me, how were they able to do this? Well, I'm just going to say it. Prostitution is legal. So it wasn't really the women that was the issue. It was actually the men that causes the environment to be what it is, right? So if you take these men that are raised with hormones and you give them an outlet, then the women in the society can be incentivized to compete on an intellectual and a more of an emotional connection, right? Versus having to worry about the physical attributes of using that to draw the men in and then keeping them at bay, chomping at the bit. Where the guy already did his post-nut clarity because he could just go down the street pay this woman that pays the money, or pay this dude maybe, or this toaster oven over in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Because it is.
But that sounds like another issue of they don't want to solve the solution, because if they don't desensitize them too much, they can make the money in the porn industry. You get what I'm saying? They desensitize that, and they just, they wouldn't make the money.
Well, they will.
It's still a money game here.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying is they would make the money, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna put it like this, right? Now, I know in the South, strip clubs is just culture because it's a strip and it's a club. It's both, right? Once you get up north, the strip club when I grew up was for losers and married men with their homeboys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, single guys did not go to the strip club.
Or the drug dealers in the back because they cutting up.
They cutting up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean?
Counting out money.
Yeah, like when I grew up, you didn't go to the strip club. You went to the club. You went to the club. You went to the house party. If you was a single dude, you went to the house party. You went to the club. You went dance with some women, had a good time, whatever. You go to the club. The strip club is usually for the dude that's drunk, that's divorced, that's going through some things, that need to reevaluate his life, right? Mm-hmm. So what I started to figure it out was, it was like, okay, what is this really is? What is this really is? And like you were saying, is it's about the money issue, but they are starting to legalize that in America. They're about to take it back. They have to legalize it because these dudes are becoming radicalized. Because, you know what I mean? And they're being so repressed in society because people have more choices, right? Like, you're not concerned to deal with the people within your city block or even in your city, right? You have the internet. You have choices. Everybody has a choice, right? Right?
Absolutely.
So now you have a choice. And when it comes to dealing with quote unquote companionship nowadays, right? You know, then you have a choice, but women are always going to win that choice to a certain degree. So you have to get these guys, you know, they are going to have a problem when they're snapping. They feel like they're owed something. Someone lied to them. Somebody told them something, right? And being in a 2-parent household or whatever, even myself raising children, even with my wife and stuff like that, is like.
But haven't they been lied to?
Well, yeah. Well, and what I mean by not lied to is like you lie to people for 3 reasons. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to hurt them. You know, you pick a reason, or you don't want to tell them the harsh truth of reality. We lie to people all day. We don't.
What about lying to avoid accountability?
That there you go. That's also another one, right? Like now I'm gonna say this, right? Now, as far as black folk, we will tell you, as far as appearance, we'll give you a sense of reality when it comes to that. Like, we like to roast each other, right? Because we're very sticklers on our appearance because of society. And what I mean, I'm talking about Black American folks, right? But when it comes to children, or especially like, let's just say mothers and their sons, for instance, right?
Okay, I'm one.
Right, most, and I'm not saying all, but most women are not just going to tell their son, if he's doing everything right, if he's trying to do what he's trying to do, if he's not running around the house stinking, you're going to motivate him by basically telling him, hey, babe, you're fine, you're doing. They just don't know, they just don't know you. He's a handsome young boy. Now, he can have a funny shaped head. He can just be awkward than a motherfucker. Right? To the point where you try to at least try to hook them up with somebody. You know what I mean? So somebody.
So are you saying that a parent or mother more or less feels like her son, when I even say child, a mother feels like her son is socially awkward, so she tries to help him socialize?
Yes, yes, because
That's weird.
well, it does
Nope.
happen a lot. It does happen a lot, right? You know what I mean? And the thing is, what actually helps men learn how to socialize in a certain spectrum is they have to be in the presence of other men, right?
So you're
So,
saying that he couldn't learn how to socialize around women?
well, he can't. He can learn how to socialize around women. He won't know how to learn how to socialize around women being a man.
Right. He'll mimic what women do, and then you have another issue on your hands.
See, I have to disagree with that. I get that. I get, to me, that seems like that's going to the extreme. Or maybe it just doesn't fit my situation, so I don't understand that. But I do get it. I
Hmm.
get it.
Hmm.
But I
Well,
think you have to teach your child. Most people are raising children, which is wrong. You should not be raising children. You should be raising young adults. And then when they
mhm,
become young adults, they have to continue raising themselves.
Mm.
So not so much of a male or female thing. It's about teaching your children how to, one, respect themselves and hold themselves accountable, and what it's a personal thing. It's not so much a man thing or a woman thing. That's what I'm confused about.
well,
Now
I
I
mean,
get there are certain
okay.
things he may not understand or his mother can't teach him. Like I understand I couldn't teach my boys, but um,
Mhm.
there's a level that children should be taught from birth to, I'm gonna say 12.
Yeah,
That not so much on a boy or a girl thing. It's on a personal thing.
yeah.
Right. Now I got a question for you. So men and women, we're
Hmm.
both human, but we are definitely different species, right? We're completely
Absolutely.
different.
Yeah.
And so the language that we use with each other when it's women and women, we understand that men don't kind of always get it, and vice versa, right?
Yes, I agree.
When you raise a boy, I know you say you have children. When you raise him, you can only do but so much as far as communication when he's outside and talking to girls and things like that. Yeah, we can teach him some stuff. We can, well, listen, look out for this and look out for that and blah, blah, blah. But now when it gets down to the nuts and bolts of it, um, you can't teach him how to handle rejection in person. Like, you know what I mean? Some things he has to go through, and he can only learn that from other men. I
But
believe that
but wait,
because
but that's all.
Mhm.
But that's also life, Nadia, right? I mean, because
right,
you could
but
tell someone something a million times, but it might be that particular person who needs to go through the lesson themselves to actually get
Mhm.
it. So when I raised sons, they're not children. They're 23 and 21.
right,
Yeah.
Um,
mine also.
and handling rejection is not just from a female point of view. You have to teach them how to just handle rejection because life is going to throw that at you at all angles. It doesn't
Absolutely.
just start when you become a young adult or when you're
Mhm.
at a certain age. A young boy has to know how um, to accept rejection from young girls at
Right.
5 years old, at 10 years old, at 12 years old. It doesn't just start when he's able to go on a date on his own by his own will. He has to know how to deal with rejection at every level. And of course, there are levels I'm not going to teach because I'm not going to be there for that rejection.
Right, right. But do you, okay, as long as, okay, so with rejection, also just communicating with females, do you think you can single-handedly do that with a boy from the time he's a toddler on up to 18? Like all he needs is, do you think you will really be setting him out into the world and able to have healthy conversations with females, being able to develop healthy relationships with the other sex? If he only,
I will say yes because I have, and it's not so much of just the other sex, it's just teaching them how to communicate.
now that's true. I agree, but I want to say this too. Maybe this also applies to you. Even if you raise him by yourself, right? Let's say you raise him
I
and
did.
he's right. Children are other children's greatest influences in life. Do you agree?
I agree.
And so perhaps somewhere along the line, when you let him play outside, he was surrounded by boys. He was surrounded by older boys, older men, you know what I mean? And so that's how, in my era, that's how a lot of young men
Mhm.
grew up. You know, it's the OGs on the block. It's the you know, we
And I
call
will
our
say
Uncle
yes.
David, and Uncle David ain't really our uncle, but you know, you get what I'm saying. So he
Yes, I will say yes,
cultivates
because
that
there are
child.
things that they did learn that I didn't teach them that they had to learn when they were out there with the other boys, just like fighting. I would think,
Right,
oh my gosh, my children can't fight. But mind you, I've gone outside, my son done got jumped, or he done jumped, or,
right,
they were
right.
fighting. And that was a thing that I was scared of, that they might be too, soft. But no, by no means were they soft. They did learn things from
Yeah,
being outside around other boys, and maybe boys who had dads,
right.
or
So do
some
you
boys
think
who
that
didn't
helped?
have dads or moms.
So
Yes,
do
that
you think
helped, of
that played a
course.
part? Right. So what I'm saying is, I don't think that we can single-handedly just teach him how
I don't
to.
think anyone can single-handedly teach their children. It takes a village. So I'm not saying that
Right.
I did it all by myself per se. Yes, I was their disciplinarian. Yes, it was, the final word was mine. But yes, they were influenced by other people from their age on up past mine. Absolutely.
and and that's what I was, and I'm glad that you said this one point about the 12-year-old part, right,
Hmm.
because that's usually when men, if you go back through time, that's usually when you get your passage of manhood and stuff like that. You get separated from your mother back in the olden days, in the tribal thing. Like when you get to about 11 or 12, the men in the village would take the young men away from the women, separate them from the girls, teach them life skills, but then teach them what it is to be a man, right? You know what I'm saying? And you wouldn't be put with your father necessarily all the time. You will be put with different men because you have to be able
Mm,
to take orders from society and as a community, right? You can't
okay.
just
Absolutely.
listen
Right.
to one man, right? And because your father might not necessarily be the leader of the community at large,
Right.
right? So my mom, she raised me by herself, but there was always male figures around me,
And
my
that,
uncles,
What
my
right.
I'm
older
saying.
cousins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She always made sure that she would send me to stay with my aunt over the summer. She had four boys, which was my older cousins, and then I had one younger cousin. So
Yeah.
they're more like my brothers growing up, even though I'm an only child, than
Shout
cousins.
out to the only children in the world.
Yeah, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? So
We
now,
special.
now the problem with being an only child is you in this weird flux because your only communication is an adult, and you're not in a position where you are a peer, but you're not friends with the parent. There, you hear things, you're not supposed to repeat them. You learn things beforehand. You're not allowed to ask too many questions, especially if you grew up in a black household, because it's do what I
Right.
say,
We
shut
develop
up.
social skills real quick, don't
Andre,
we?
you said you're getting ready to be an empty nester, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. And your children, sons or daughters,
All of them
or
boys.
both? All of them
All of them
boys?
boys. All of
Okay, let me ask you this as a father, because as a mother, I
them.
feel like, and I try to tell parents this, it's like, a lot of people try to scare people into becoming parents. But it really gets deep once they turn between 10 and 12, like you're
Hmm.
speaking on now. And I can
Hmm.
honestly say I felt like I woke up one morning and did not know who my children were.
I agree.
Did
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
ever experience
Mhm.
that?
Oh, I was ready. I was happy. It was daddy time.
Oh, okay. See, so for you, you were happy it was daddy time. For me, it was like, what? Like it was like almost everything I taught. It was,
Right. It
but
became
it
a
was more
battle.
them trying to now. It was
Mhm.
yes, it was a battle of them more or less trying to be like who they want to be versus what mommy is
Mm.
telling them they got to
Right.
do and be.
Well, especially with boys, men are inherently in their DNA. They're meant to challenge the environment. That's what they do, right? That's what we do.
Including
Well,
women.
I'm gonna say girls
Mm.
too, because I raised my
Yeah,
sisters and I got it from them as well. But I was
yeah,
shocked when I got it from my sons, being that they were mine and I raised them since birth. You get what I'm saying? It was a
yeah.
difference of my sisters versus, but it was still the same thing. So it wasn't that I didn't recognize it. I just was shocked by it.
Well, I wasn't I wasn't shocked about it. It was just one of those things where it's one of those things where, okay, you taught him something, right? You
I
told him
told them
something,
a lot. I
right? You
told
told
them,
him a
taught
lot,
them.
right? You told him, but here's the one unequivocal truth. I still have to put what you said to me to the test.
Got it. That
Because just because
and
I
they
know
did it.
something, yeah, just because I know something does not mean that I haven't experienced it, right? Because it's still theory, right? And that might have
Right.
worked for you, but I didn't.
That was
That was
definitely part of
different.
the convo.
Yeah, that was different, and that was, even with my kids, right? Like I can say like this: I've only physically corrected my all three of my kids, maybe I think 7 times, and it was the oldest one that caught most of it because he was the stunt double, right? He was the stunt double.
Right.
He was
They tend to learn that they watch
yeah,
like I'm gonna do it better, so I
yeah.
get bypass.
And it was, but what I would always do with my sons was I would do something that with my kids that I wasn't allowed or wasn't offered to me until I actually saw it done. And I remember my uncle corrected me one time, right? And it
Mhm.
was this weird feeling I never felt before, right? Because my mom was raising me, and when I would go over my aunt's house, I would be like the perfect child, right? Because I don't want her. I saw what was happening to my cousins when they did dumb stuff. And the way I was thinking as the only child, if she's doing that to her kids, I'm not her kid. What's she gonna do to me? Right? You know what I
You
mean?
were
So
a
I'm gonna
smart
get my butt.
child.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, no, I'm not trying to deal with that. But when, I was going through some stuff and my uncle was talking to me, he was very calm, but I understood exactly what he meant when he said what he said. It was very stern, it was to the point, but it was no threat of him beating me up or saying he gonna do whatever. He said this one word that for some reason, coming from a man that I really respected, like was worse than any ass whipping that he could ever or anybody could ever give me, even my mom. And it was he was disappointed in me, and he knew I could do
Mm.
better. Right
Yeah,
now, if my
that's the
mom
worst
said that,
feeling. Yeah.
yeah, if my mom said that, I was like, that's all, right? But because it
No,
came
I
from
get you.
him,
Mm.
and it was a man that said it, and he had that look in his face, like, and it was that look like, better.
Man.
Yeah.
It was like, you know what I mean?
That's
It was
worse
like,
than a damn
man,
beating. We
yeah, it was
experienced
worse.
that as mothers with our boys. Do you agree? I mean, my son, he had some buck up moments. And but when he got past it, into the middle of his 20s, it was really funny to watch him. Whenever he thought he failed in something, that broke him down. That broke him down to come back to me and say, the last thing I want to do is disappoint you. And I
Yeah.
used to always have to tell him, don't worry about me. You have to live your life. And, when, he wanted to switch colleges, and I was really hurt. I was really hurt because I drilled it in him, certain schools, and I had to think about that because I only have two. And I had to think about it. I was like, you know what? I'm living vicariously through him, and I need to stop
Uh-huh.
because I'm projecting my fears. I'm projecting, his goals, his growth, everything. It's a lot on his shoulders. And once he started saying those words to me, he don't want to disappoint me. He used to say that a lot. And it's like, no, 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 you're not disappointing me. But I know what you're talking about because that alone you don't want to do. That's worse than a damn whipping.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Children, and that's what I was like, you know, I guess because I was waiting on it. Like I could see when my wife would talk to. I could see it. She could talk. She would talk to him, and I could see I call it the puberty deafening, right? And and I'm gonna speak on the boys because I don't have any girls. Puberty deafening for
Oh,
men
you have
children.
all boys.
Yeah, I have all boys. Yeah, yeah. Even the dog is a boy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So puberty deafening for boys is that when puberty starts hitting us, we start losing hearing.
Definitely. It's the
Right?
pitch that you don't hear.
Yeah, it's the pitch, right? It's the pitch, and anything that we consider that boys consider nagging, right, gets tuned out. If we know that you're going to say something and you're not going to do anything with physical reinforcement or take away something to get our attention, we're going to tune you out, right? Because it's this thing in the head that we like, all right, yeah, all right, whatever, right? And what I would do is, I would see it happening, and then my wife would be like, well, he ain't listening. And I would come in the room and say, hey, did you hear what your mom said? And he was like, and they'd look at me and they'd do that blink like, yeah, she said such and such, go do such and such. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's thinking like, oh, you doing it on purpose, but it's not really that. It's just the brain is developing into a data dump, right? Like it's the adolescent mind is dumping unnecessary memories and data, and their brain is focusing on something else, and they're going through these different feelings and different things and emotions and the mood swings and all of this stuff is happening at once. And this is where it's imperative that you need that other masculine energy to suppress that and to teach them how to channel that in the right way.
You know what, Andre? When I was raising my boys, I do have a soft voice. So when I was raised, when they were young, I was able to deepen my voice. Whenever I would give a demand, I would deepen my voice. Of course, that only worked until they were probably about 10. But then it was more, when they got older, it's more of a, I had to be direct with my words. So I couldn't keep repeating. The repeating thing was done. It's like direct with my words and then actions. So I'll give you an example. So the issue was, using dishes, washing them, because I don't believe in a man thinking that a woman's supposed to, clean and all that behind him. And then with my sons, it's like, mad day come, you better know how to clean up for yourself, cook for yourself, do these things for yourself. Then, you don't have those problems. So they wouldn't wash the dishes. I got tired of it. So let it go, and then let it go for a week. Then I threw all the dishes away and kept one plate, one fork, one this, one that, because as a woman, I couldn't beat up on my sons. I'm not about to go and have a fight. No, I'm not grabbing a broom. We're not doing that. I don't have a problem washing what I use. So I know it'll be there. But if you want to eat, you're going to have to wash that plate.
Yeah.
Or go buy some paper plates. But those were like my methods. Yeah. People were like, you threw your dishes away? I sure did.
I'm like, certain methods work with certain people, like when I didn't wash the dishes, because I remember I was living with my aunt and they had a rule: 30 days in the kitchen, whoever's in the kitchen, take out the trash, and then whoever's like not in the kitchen, because my cousin and him was about the same age, had the living room, the dining room, clean the bathrooms, right, in the house, right.
And did cleaning the kitchen mean sweeping and mopping the floor?
Yeah. Like
exactly. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you wash the dishes every night, and then before you went out and did anything on like Friday or Saturday, what I would do is I'm always going out on Saturday, so I would stay up late on Friday and clean the kitchen, and then when you would switch over at the end of the month, my aunt would come through. She'd do her inspection. So she cleaned, like, you got to clean the stove, you got to clean everything, the floor, make sure everything's straight, and then you switch over, right? Now, I was playing football. I got tired, came home, did my homework, whatever, went to sleep, right? I didn't wash the dishes. My uncle woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Go downstairs and wash the dishes, right? He woke me up at 3 in the morning. So one time, I was up there playing the game. He said, hey, wash the dishes. I said, cool. After I played the game, I went to go in my bed. The dishes was in my bed, waiting on me.
Oh, I've put trash in their beds, so
Yeah,
I get that.
yeah,
You don't want to dump
yeah.
it, it's gonna be on your bed.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
let
didn't
me,
dump it out. I didn't dump it out, but I did sit it on the bed.
yeah. So that was, that was his little way of doing things. And plus, we still had to go outside and mow the lawn and cut the hedges and stuff like that, and rake the leaves when that needed to be done. Or we would already be told, hey, you ain't going out this week because we got housework to do. You know what I mean? We got to do some fixing around the house. You know what I'm saying? You got to help me with these rain gutters or whatever. So whatever you got planning, but my uncle wouldn't tell us at the last minute. He would at least tell us at like early in the week or something like that, or next week he would tell us. And if you forgot, that's on you. But he did tell you, right? But there was one thing that I was taught by my uncle is last minute shit. I remember my aunt wanted us to do something at the last minute, and he said, "Nah, you. When did you know when this need to be done?" And she was like, "Oh, well, I knew I wanted to do this 2 weeks ago." She said, "Then why didn't you tell them this then?" He said, "No, we don't do last minute stuff. Mm-mm. No." He said, "Go outside. Y'all go ahead and do whatever you're doing." But at the same time, I started to learn how certain dynamics worked in the household or whatever, as far as whatever, right? When you know, when I learned about my, um, and it's a work in progress, right? It's just whatever. So, like, my kids don't live in the state, so they have more freedoms than you would allow children in the states to have because they don't have the safety concerns that are allowed that you have to go through in the states. So they don't. So they are allowed to do like how we kind of grew up, where there was a community and there was people and and it was safer then. They have more of that now. They have more of that where I live at now, right? Because I live
Do you
outside the
think it
city.
was safer then, or do you think it was just that we didn't get the news as fast as we can get it
Well,
today?
the way if I look at it now, and I saw how the neighborhood changed when I grew up. I still remember when the teachers could whip your ass in school.
When you, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when the neighbors were actually out and you had to listen to Miss Such and Such or Mr. Whoever, and they would tell your parents and your parents would correct you. I remember you would go, you see an old lady walking down the street, you stop what you're doing, help her, or something like that, right? Like, and you had certain adults in the neighborhood that was well respected. You didn't sit on this woman's steps, you didn't make noise over here. If she told you to shut up or get away from her steps, you went away. And then that went away over time because of what happened with the neighborhood, things going down and so forth. So seeing how that was, like, I'm gonna put it to you like this. So um my kids, ever since the youngest one was about 4, like about 4, they would, and the oldest one was about 9 or 10, they would get on the train and go see their grandparents on a bullet
Wow.
train by themselves. We just put them on the train and they just go on the bullet train by themselves, right? Now, so let's say the bullet train from where we lived at would be approximately going from Baltimore to New York
So they
by
wouldn't have a
themselves.
chaperone. It's not like a.
No, no, they
It's
just
just
get
you
on the
put them on
train.
the train and they okay.
Yeah, and they get out the train station, they go about their business, right? Like I didn't have to, we didn't worry about that. They go play, they come home. We wasn't worried about that. They know, like how we had the street light,
Right.
right? We had the street light. Hey, you better be in the house before the street light come on, right? So, because I live in Japan, so in Japan they have a chime that goes off where the kid's supposed to be home at a certain time. Like it's like it plays like so in the summertime I think it's about 6 and 7, and in the wintertime it's about 4 or 5. It's a chime that goes off that they leave the park, they get out of it, and the police do rounds. The police will come around and kick them out the park or
Mm.
bring them home. They don't play that, right? So is extra safe for children. What I mean, to do what they do. They still got people do crazy stuff or whatever, but it's not on the clip where it's like on the U.S. or other places type of place where it's, they got to watch out for a lot of stuff. Now, my thing with my kids is I had to put them in certain situations where they need to get, how should they street savvy up because it's so safe in the country. Like Japan is so safe that when I first got to the country, men would get drunk and go to sleep on the curb, like salarymen would go to sleep on the curb, and nobody would rob them. Like that's how safe it is. Like you know,
I'm back.
you
Shit.
know what I'm saying. Like so, when you grow up in a society like that, but they're not, you know what I mean, like we're not going to be here forever all the time or whatever, and they need to, they're going to have to travel, so they need to have some sense about them, like some radar sense about them, because it's so safe. You ain't got to worry about certain things like that. So that's why I allow my kids to be more free and more adventurous than you would do in the States without giving them that thing. Like we all know about the whole you got to give your kids that talk about the police, right? You got to give them that black talk about the police.
Mhm.
I don't have to give my kids that black talk about the police. I don't have to give them.
Interesting. I like
Yeah,
that.
They don't.
Interesting.
They don't like. Matter of fact, I don't have that problem. Like I walk past the police, I don't have that issue. I don't have that problem. I don't even feel anything. It's only when I'm in the States that I feel something.
hmm
So that's a stateside problem.
That's a stateside. So you're saying that's an American problem, but not
That's a
foreign problem. All right.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's police everywhere. Like, there's
Just don't
police
fuck
everywhere.
around. Yeah, just don't fuck
Yeah,
around.
yeah. You know what's the funny part? It was a police officer. It was the first time a police officer. They said it was the first time a police officer shot a gun since World War II, like a couple of years
Damn.
ago.
Wow.
Yeah, like literally shot a gun since World War II. That's what I'm saying. They don't, they do their work. They do whatever they do,
hmm
but it's like the police are there to help. You can walk up to them, ask them something, and go about your business.
So you can't do that in
You know?
America, ask for help, but you can go other place and you can ask for help. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, you can go.
They ain't gonna like that teaching advisor. You know that, right?
Oh, see, but if they travel abroad and they have to know that this exists, so I have to teach it to them, right?
Mhm.
So they know what to do once they experience it, right? Because you don't know what a person will do or how they react when they experience
Right.
something for the first time. Like we understand about the police because we experience it. We know, we grew up with it. We understand what that is. We understand, we feel that tinge and that trauma and whatever
Oh
that
yeah,
is.
yeah.
But if you never felt that, you don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling. It's something that you're not accustomed to.
Yeah.
It's something you're not
I get
accustomed
approached police all the time while I was walking like years ago. Like it was a different reaction, but it was like when I was like a lot younger.
to. Sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up around that shit too. Yeah.
And it's not to say, my kids, what I mean, or whatever, but it's just the fact of reality is that they got to deal with different things because
Yeah.
of what it is, different instances of different levels of stuff, but it's not at the same concentration that we have to deal with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like as being, black people in America or in that dynamic. So me raising, like, that's why I say I can only talk about raising children to a certain point, but I can't really talk about the environment per se when I'm talking to people like Lovely about how she had to raise her children in that environment per se, because she's still in America. I'm not there. So I can only talk about it and how I applied certain things and certain functions because the environment is totally different.
Mhm.
See, I'll tell you, after Katrina, we, came to Georgia. But I didn't grow up in Georgia. And it was like, my boys were getting ready to go off to junior high and in high school. And I'm like, I don't know Georgia. I don't know Georgia teen life. And, I didn't want to lose my sons. So I
Yeah.
moved back to New Orleans to let them go to junior high and high school because, hey, New Orleans is 5 minutes around. 5 minutes in any direction, you're no longer in Orleans Parish.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying? I know who I could call. If they say I'm on Elysianfield and such, I know where that is.
What
So I
year
had
in
my,
Georgia you lived? What year? What year?
for what years? From 2005 to 2011, 12.
Oh wow!
A-
So
And
I
then
came.
from 2012 to now, but now I'm back and forth. I have a house in Georgia
Oh
and an
yeah, the last
apartment.
time.
And
Well, the last time I lived in the city of Atlanta, I was like, I first moved down here like '07. Well, I live here now, so it's like we're 2022. So I've been over a decade. So I understand. So I came around when you was probably around in '07 and 11. So you left then. Yeah, you left at the height of the smartphone era. Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
so it was like when I went to New Orleans, it was like I had my fears, and it's like
Mhm.
they don't have that NO spirit, and I didn't think they would mesh, but they did well.
Great.
I was impressed. I had no trouble. Never police trouble, never gang trouble, never fight trouble, just none of that. It was like the best move I made, but I did it for them.
Well,
You did. You did. You did.
and the funny part about that is children. The one thing about like children and young adults is they're very adaptable. You be very like as a parent, you be very surprised as and it doesn't also always mean bad, and it also doesn't always mean good. But they are very adaptable to the environment because they're very malleable to what's going on. Because they do have a survival instinct to that degree. They'll act a certain way, they'll take on certain mannerisms, they'll do certain things. Like if you ever watch a child, that can speak two languages.
No, I don't have a child that can speak two
But
languages.
but have you ever ran into a child that can like speak two languages where
No, but I
one
will tell you what's something funny. I have my niece. She would play with her baby dolls, and when she would play with her baby dolls, now mind you, she's not around anyone who's speaking Spanish or another language, but she would speak to her dolls in another language. She would
mm,
not talk English. She wouldn't say, "Hey, come on, let's have tea." But she would be speaking some other language only when she played with her dolls.
and that's probably because of what she's watching on television,
Mm.
and then you got to see what she's watching. So if she's like, say she's watching, I think Sesame Street got some stuff where they have a section on there where the
Yeah.
puppets are speaking in Spanish or some other
Or
language,
different languages, like
right?
or certain other cartoons, like if they have like French languages or foreign
Yeah.
languages, or
See, I didn't
books,
think of that, but
or
yeah,
books,
she
like those
definitely.
audio books. If they ever have a tablet or a smartphone,
Mhm.
they probably
Yeah.
listen to that too, because a lot of these kids today, they adapt things different by ear. So once you learn by ear, like when someone teach you a language by ear instead of writing it, it's a different format. It's like, yeah, we may know the writing, right? I know all the languages in writing, but if you actually speak it to a person and they teach you how to speak it this way, oh, it's a different magnetic field, and you're gonna communicate with that person. That's a form. It's like what we're speaking right now. It's like crisp and clean, and what you would call it. Common speech. But if you have a common speech in a foreign language like Japanese, for example, or
Gentlemen,
Hebrew, all that stuff, that's
excuse
something you
me.
can't teach. Yeah, yeah, that's
Y'all,
stuff you
it's
can
been
really
a
teach.
pleasure. If y'all are still up here, I'll be back, but I got a few errands to run.
Oh
So
yeah,
Okay,
it
okay,
was
we
really
appreciate you.
nice. Thank
yeah,
you, Ani, for having.
Yeah, man.
yeah. No problem. Anytime, anytime. The,
Anytime, man.
the captain said he had to conk out. He had to take a power nap.
Oh
And
man.
we're 33 minutes over the time that's due. Uh, hey man.
Oh man, I got a stream in the next hour at 2:30, but damn.
2:30. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
shit. Yeah. Hold on. You about to stream in what? Next 30 minutes?
yeah,
Or
30 minutes. About
okay.
it's
So
it's gonna be a while, so you know what I mean. But I don't know because I know people is stream. I think Ramil is done. I came from there. Yeah, they ain't talking about nothing. Yeah.
And conversation was great. Who was in here? Let's run down in here. Other than the panelists, we'll get to them. That was up here. Jay Sean was up here. Well,
Salute
he
to the
was in the
brother.
chat. Salute to Jay Sean coming through. Toya the Tutor, what's going on, Toya? You know what I'm saying?
Ultimate tutor. What's going on? The ultimate one.
Coming through. Gino, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? You get the petty award for the week.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did great, and he had to chill because he saw Ramil Street. I said, no, relax, Gino, relax.
What's
Take your
going
praise.
on, Auntie? Appreciate you coming through. Hey, was the most logical Cowboys fan, but hey man, you making the
You gotta
villains
pay
look
your
bad. You gotta pay
pay your
them back.
minutes,
You
brother.
know what I mean? We can't have people coming over looking for you, man.
You don't
You
want no
know,
problems, man. From
you
NOLA.
you know what I mean? Warren G's, you know what I mean? Utah, what's going on, family?
Utah?
Dog, you know what I'm saying? So what else we got in here, man? And we had the Supreme Elder coming through. Supreme Elder, appreciate you coming through.
Supreme Elder, Mr. DJ Music. What's going
You know
on,
what I'm
man?
saying? Supreme Elder coming through. Man, yo, appreciate you, man. Sir, you got any last words before we shut this thing down?
It's been a great conversation with the ladies, and appreciate everybody that came through. And I enjoyed the conversation while I was running some errands myself. You know, got to grab me something to eat. And yeah, man, y'all enjoy your day. All hell, great school. I'm out.
Well, sir's gonna be coming. Well, you're gonna be kicking it in almost that's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
40 minutes. So sir's gonna be going live 40 minutes on this channel. So you get a 40-minute break to do what you need to do for what should we call it, afternoon service?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you call it afternoon service. You know what I'm saying? On your lovely Sunday afternoon. It is actually almost 4 in the morning on Monday for me. But anyway, so you know what I mean? I hope everybody enjoys yourself. No one will beg you to be great. But we will hold you accountable. And look at that, man. We did a whole 3.5 hours, had a lovely conversation, and it was no tables thrown, chairs thrown, and no foolishness, debauchery, dereliction, and degradation going on. Man, you know what I mean? It can't be done, man. All right. Y'all have a nice evening. Oh, well, nice afternoon. You know what I mean? And if you know the All-Star game is popping, so watch that if you're a man. You know, stop talking about these women all the time.
Yeah. It's today too. Oh damn.
You know what I'm saying?